Where it stops, no one knows. We're going head into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. And another day of As the Delphi World Turns. So it's good to see you guys. I missed you guys yesterday. So I was peeking around some of the YouTube Delphi streets, and I know there's a couple other people that are live right now, but unfortunately, I have a narrow window in between a drop off at gymnastics and a pickup at gymnastics that I have to be able to go live today. So we're gonna have to squeeze it in. So I'm sorry to anybody else who is live that I am now going at the same time, because I try not to do that as much as I can. Let me say hi to everybody, and if I'm pretty sure you guys all maybe know or have already read that Nick responded to the defense's third motion for a request for a Franks hearing, and I don't know about you guys, but I actually thought this is one of his better filings that he's ever actually put out. It's like, did he write it? But I mean, if this is if he, there's still some confusing parts to it, so we're going to go over it together. But I mean, the last one and this one, I'm like, okay, I think we're getting somewhere. I think we're on a path to a trial finally. That's how I feel. Like I'm feeling it ramping up, and like they're getting ready to go. Sleepy. Well, I mean, he signed it. But I know, that's what I was like. I'm like, I can see that they're doing. Oh, I don't even have it up on screen. I'm like showing you guys that he signed it. But let me say hi to everybody in chat, and we'll go from there. Hi, Bean. What's up, Terry? Hi, Johnny Blackhawk. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing very well. Hi, Tammy. I see you, Mama. Hi, Just Deb. Hi, Laura. You like my tie-dye shirt? I am a huge fan of tie-dye. I love all tie-dye. And I have a friend of mine who does tie-dye. That's like her job. Like she has like a whole website where she sells tie-dye, and so it's all like one-of-a-kind stuff. So that's who I order from. And I love her. I love her stuff. And hi, Teresa. Oh, that's only because it's down. I hate having it won't be down by the end of this live. I can promise you that. But thank you. Thank you for the compliments. I appreciate it. I know if I should probably wear it down more often, but I just don't. Look at all summer fun today. You know, it's actually like 80 degrees. It actually feels like summer here today, which is weird because it rained. It was rain all over Easter weekend. And now it's like in the 80s. And then it's going to start raining again. I think it's tomorrow night. It's supposed to rain again. That's springtime in Southern California for you. You have to be prepared. You have to come with shorts or like some type of capri pants so you can be in the middle of the hot and the cold. Wear a t-shirt, but also make sure you have your sweatshirt available. That's how it is here, because you're going to need all of them throughout one day. Hi, ATS. What's up, Rebecca? Hey, Nikki. 1960. What's up, BH? Hi, Queen Elizabeth. And no, we have not picked a name yet. I need to get back and do that. Strictly Chaos. What's up, Blah Law Nerd? Amber, the Royal We. Wild Light Arts. I was gonna like Wild Night. I don't even know what the hell I'm saying. I don't even know why you guys listen. I can't even get words out of my mouth half the time. Hi, Snappy Dragon. Hi, Laura. Hi, Missing Unsolved. Hi, Ramblin'. Hi, Mike. Hi, Carla. I have to say, everybody that has commented about the read through they're all huge Diener fans. Let me just tell you that. They're like, I don't even know if that's what she sounds like in real life, like if that's what Diener sounds like, but that's what now she's forever going to sound like to the people who listen to the read through on this channel. Diener's always going to have that accent. Okay, hold on. I have something open that has notifications. Let's get rid of it. All right. I missed probably so many people in here. Hi, the Rockaways. Diener wrote this one. Johnny, you can do tie-dye? I bet that'd be pretty cool. Hi, JCM. It's going to snow in Indiana. Freaking ridiculous. It was 90 here the past 2 days, and storm just rolled in, and now it's 69. Oh, at least it's 69. Hi, Bonnie. Yeah. No matter what happens, they're going to be like, Diener needs to have that accent. Hi, Heavy Metal Rehab. Thank you, Christy. Hi, Hybrid. I thought it never rains in Southern California. Well, we've got a lot of rain. Lots and lots of rain. Set party people. I look happy. Well, that's good. I don't have to get up at the butt crack of dawn to get sandwiches and 3 kids to school. So it's written nothing at all like Nick writes. Maybe he has a new assistant too. Objection. Thank you. I like the seasons, but I could have lived without this cold snap. I love living where there's 4 seasons, except for I hate driving in the snow. So I love being in the house when it snows, and I love seeing the snow, but I do not want to be driving around in the snow. Cannot stand it. Hi, Marshall. That was my Diener impression. Objection. IB Math. Love the title. He's calling bullshit. I mean, he really is. So I don't know who's actually read through this yet. But I'm telling you, I mean, I'm like, okay, I think we're gearing up, and I think we're getting ready. We're getting ready to actually go to trial here. These filings make me feel like we actually are going to have a trial in May, because I know it's on. I know it's scheduled, and I know that she's already put the schedule out. And I don't know why I'm like so like leery about believing it. I'm just like, I don't know. Are we really still going to have one? Maybe just because we've waited so long to have one. But I just cannot wait. I cannot wait to have it. Hi, Amber. I'll be here till I head back to class. Oh, thank you, Amber. What's up, Yankee Ghost? Hi, Connie. Long time no see. I hope you're doing okay. All right, let me share this on the screen. I don't like driving around with other people that forget how to drive in the snow. Yeah, don't drive with me in the snow then. I don't like it. With good time. No. F the snow. I live in Arizona. That's right. That's how you do it. Hey, Mandy. Okay. Wait, did I not? Oh, I didn't. I just didn't add it to the screen. Okay. So he, whether he wrote it or not, he's the one who signs it. We're saying it's from him. It's from the prosecutor's office. But do you trail? Do you trail? Like, do I go like hiking? Or I don't know. I don't know what that means. So I don't know if I do it. Do I trail? I was laughing so hard at your southern. I don't think I was able to pull it off. I tried. Diener, objection, Your Honor. I just changed. So bad. Hi, Nance. Spoiler alert, it's chock full of logical fallacies. Hubby's dad was in and out of the hospital. Now he's doing dialysis. Oh, Scott, you're busy. You're busy. Hi, Jiu-Jitsu. The ruling on the mental health records isn't positive towards the May trial day. Okay. Oh, you know what? Let's talk about that before we get into this. Let's go over here because there's some things that did happen yesterday that I don't think they needed a live of their own to talk about, but we will go over them real quick. So yesterday there was like a whole bunch of letters that were also sent to the court. there's a whole bunch of letters that were also sent to the court, essentially just asking for transparency, with the cameras. Now people are just taking it like this. I mean, I know Fig Solves wrote a letter because he felt like he needed to be able to address the judge. I don't agree that he did it, but I know why he did it. And what it did was just and then she published it. And by doing that, so many people are like, ooh, look I can actually communicate with the judge, and she's going to put it out there. And in turn, anything I want to say about all these people on YouTube or social media or Facebook that I want to trash or defame or slander, I can put this in this letter to the judge, and the judge is putting it out for everybody to read. I will no longer be reading those letters. I started out with reading them. Like I said, I understand why Fig did it. I don't agree. It was not necessary. He should have gone straight, that should have been handled by Nick McLeland. But that's neither here nor there. What it's done is set this weird precedent that people just are now writing to the judge like they're besties. I do not agree with it. I respect that people are asking for transparency when it comes to cameras. I get it, but I cannot, I don't agree with this. I just don't. I don't. Because what's happening is it's allowing for so much to be put in these quote unquote court filings. And honestly, I'm very concerned, even with the ones that I agree with, that I think are, for transparency for cameras. I'm honestly concerned that what is going to happen is this is going to push her further away from allowing anything because of the public spectacle that she foresees it being. What if we are looking for cameras in the courtroom, I believe that we need to be talking with the media in Indiana, and there should be a media coalition, and they should have an attorney that represents these types of things. That's the number one that should be dealing with it. And then number two, let me think of how I can say this. I'll come back to it. The governor, I just think that I don't know. I just think it's setting a really bad precedent. That's my opinion. You guys can think whatever the heck you want to. As you know, you are all welcome to your own opinions. This is a free thought, free belief channel. Have at it. Think what you want. Do as you please. But that's, like I said, that's just my opinion on it. I'm worried that it's going to push her further away and more of a, like, see, now look at all these public people who just think it's okay just to write to me, even though the first person who wrote to her is technically should have been talking to Nick McLeland. Hi, Sleuth Mom, and hi, Unsolved Crimes. Hi, Tornado. Hi, KO. Good luck, Indiana Stinks. Hi, The Rockaways. So funny to see them antagonize Goal. She's not reading them. I guarantee you she does not give two shits about anything that's in those letters. And all it's doing is hurting people that are being talked about in the letters. She did an interview with Main Media. No, because the interview was just putting out the scheduling, if I know what you're talking about. So no, it's not a violation of the gag order. I mean, under her terms, I could see why you think that, but no, it's not. Her secretary may have got a good chuckle out of them. It's just, well, we've got one person who's writing in and like just saying and some of these things that they're putting in these letters they're not accurate. They're not accurate information. So anybody who doesn't follow this day to day, like some of us do, they're just like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that so-and-so did this. And it's like, well, they didn't. But this random ass person on Facebook thought it would be a good idea to, put it in a letter to the judge. So anyway, that's my opinion. Like I said, you can take it or leave it. She's taking away the people's will. This is how dictatorship works. Now, I don't disagree, but what I just think that we have to find the correct way to go about it. I'm just catching up on chat. I ask this myself, odd structure, and Bob always tells me that they're paying attention. I don't know. Hi, Salty C. She's going to exploit anything and everything. I'm glad the public is speaking up about transparency. It will all go into the appellate records, and if RA sues the state after he's found not guilty, it'll help. My issue comes to how many people are writing about stuff that has nothing to do with that, and it's all just okay. Like, I just think that's why I'm like, even the good, that this is like one of those, like, the why we can't have nice things kind of thing. I think Osbrook is about to make an appearance. Oh, hi, Christine. Oh, Christine, you were asking about trails, and I got to figure out what you were talking about. Oh, trial. Yes, the case. I do think the case is going to go to trial. I think we're there. I think that's what we're seeing with these filings. Oh, and what I was going to say was, from the get-go of this, Nick was, as much as people are like, oh my gosh, she's so pro-defense and hates the prosecution, blah, blah, blah. It's truly, and the Nick is not qualified to handle this case. He just isn't. And now we're seeing that he has brought on two other more experienced attorneys who have dealt with cases of this magnitude, or closer to this magnitude, I should say. And we're starting to see a shift in how the prosecution is doing things. Hopefully it will restore some faith from some that sit on the fence about back and forth about, do we trust the prosecutor? Do we not trust the prosecutor? Hopefully we'll start to see some more accurate things, but we know from the last filing that he did, there was things in there that were absolutely not accurate. So that's a struggle. Okay. So anyway, so we're talking about all these filings over here by all these people. I'm not reading any of those. I understand that people want cameras. Trust me, I want cameras. I think it's the right solution. It's the right thing to do. But like I said, I think it's just setting a bad precedent for people who just think they can write whatever the hell they want to. Now, she did issue the order on the motion to dismiss, which is what we did read through. So there's a two-part read through on the transcripts of the motion to dismiss, if you guys missed it. She denied it after conducting the hearing, and she states, now denies the motion to dismiss as the defendant has failed to show that the evidence was exculpatory and that it was destroyed negligently, intentionally, or in bad faith. The recordings of the interviews between February 14th and 20th, 2017 were lost due to human error or were spontaneously lost due to the equipment resetting. At the time the interview of Brad Holder was lost, he was not a key suspect in the case. This is a struggle for me because either they didn't know anybody at that point. They didn't know who anybody was. So everybody was either a suspect or nobody was a suspect. They didn't really know. So I think that should have been drilled on more by the defense, but that's just me, and I'm not an attorney. So like when they were bringing that up, like, hey, well, was he a suspect? No. Okay, well, who was a suspect? Was anybody a suspect? So if nobody's a suspect, doesn't that make everybody a suspect? The interview was memorialized in a written report provided to the defendant. Patrick Westfall was interviewed at his home by FBI agents. That interview was not recorded. That's what I believe. It was not recorded either. The FBI isn't known for recording interviews. They're just not. I lost where I was because I had a cough. Was not recorded, but was documented in written report provided to the defendant. Patrick was not a key suspect in the case at the time of the interview. I have the same commentary from that one. It's we didn't know anything. We don't know anything about who was suspect and who wasn't. As neither Holder nor Westfall were suspects at the time, the interviews were conducted. And I guess my next question on that would be, if they're not suspects or persons of interest or on your radar, why the fuck you talking to them, right? I mean, you're talking to them to try to figure out what happened to the girls. They're not immediate family. Why are you talking to Patrick Westfall? Why would you even go talk to Patrick Westfall? Probably because he was tipped in, which makes him a person of interest, which makes him possibly have information, possibly becoming a suspect. But like I said, they said there was no suspects at the beginning. And neither Holder nor were suspects at the time the interviews were conducted. The defendant has failed to show that the loss of interview of Holder was material and that the lack of recorded interview of Westfall was material. As defendant must establish materiality needs a capital T right there, to claim a denial of due process, and Allen had failed to do so. His due process rights have not been violated. This was expected, and I know that there was like the small hope that was going to get dismissed, but no, this was expected. She was not going to dismiss the case. We essentially knew that, because while she's going over all the evidence from the case, she's setting her schedule. So she was not going to. Who is Osbrook? Osbrook is the law professor. He is the one who wrote. He filed the limited appearance and wrote the. Well, I don't remember what he titled it, but it was essentially the clarification. Requesting clarification from Nick McLeland on what contempt he was going to be filing when he originally had filed the contempt hearing. So he's the one who was like, hey, judge, there's certain things that need to be done here. First, we need to know if it's criminal, if it's civil, if they're obviously going for indirect. It kind of seems like he's going for indirect criminal, but we really don't know. But if he is going for indirect criminal, then why are you the judge? Why is he the prosecutor? There's things that have to happen. Why is this filed under Richard Allen's case? And so that's what Osbrook wrote, was like, hey, I just want you to know that other attorneys are paying attention, and you guys better follow the rules correctly. Otherwise, there's going to be more filings, and we may be back at the Supreme Court. So that's what he was. And so he's also, he's a habeas attorney, and he's a habeas professor. And so he has a team of students that work with him on cases like that. And he's keeping a very close eye on what's going on with this case to make sure that things stay on the up and up. All right, let me see. I'm just checking chat to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Hey, Dean. Hey, women doing impossible things. BRB. Okay, hold on. Something about Shay Hughes I saw. Where'd that go? Digital said, did Shay Hughes say there is an Indiana law that mental records cannot be released without a hearing? Yes. So I'm curious about this, and so we'll talk about that when we get to that filing too. So I'm not surprised that it was denied. She gave him the hearing. She did what people asked. She gave him a hearing. She listened to the evidence. She can't change, and as we did the read through, I mean, she's telling them, like, we can't change the case law. We can't change the fact that all this stuff that you're talking about didn't actually happen in 2017. Like, they couldn't prove that they did this maliciously. They couldn't prove that it was done because of who the interviews were about. The defense couldn't prove that. What they tried to prove was that there's a pattern of lost evidence, issues with evidence being turned over, issues with communication about the fact that there was that these recordings were gone. There was things that were absolutely shady, but she has to rule on the law. She can't just be like, ooh, you didn't even bother to tell them that the interviews were missing. Like, that's shady. I'm going to dismiss it. Once again, it's her. She can do whatever she wants to do ultimately, but her job is actually just to be like, okay, this is what case law is, this is what precedent is, and this is why we talk about this all the time when we talk about cases and we talk about filings. All the things that we see unfold is what's going to be used in future cases that we cover or we talk about or we watch. That's why those things are important. Hi, Helen. PW interview with Sleuth Intuition. How much discrepancy between what he said and factual info contradicts? Well, so this is the thing when it comes to news guy said I spoke directly to the judge on the case. But about the scheduling though, right, JCM? I just want to clarify, is there something that I might not know? I want to make sure I'm on the same page. I agree, Roxanne. I agree. I'm a fat bottom Tobes. Thanks. I'm hilarious in 2 times speed. I can't wait for you to figure that out in 2 times speed, sir. Um, your opinion, I know it's subjective. Okay, so I think there's things that he downplayed, and I think that there's things that he said that I don't believe were true. Now, what I do think, though, and even from just looking at filings from both sides, it does seem that they just went to his house, just asked him where he was that day, said, hey, what were you doing? Where were you guys, this day? Have you heard anything? Blah, blah, blah. And that was essentially it, is what I think they did. That kind of goes along with exactly what he said they did about, they didn't ask me any of these questions back in 2017. They didn't come and say like, hey, do a polygraph. Hey, we want your DNA. They did all of that in 2023. And essentially they did it so they would be able to tell the defense, hey, look, here's how we ruled them out, even though we ruled them out then because we just figured they didn't have anything to do with it. Now, things that I don't necessarily believe is I don't believe that they got in a fight over Brad Holder going to church. I just don't. Because if you look at, well, you can't now because he deleted his Facebook, but if you looked at his entire history, he's not in there talking about God. He's not in there talking about his loyalty to the church. He's in there talking about Odin and anything Rune and anything this and that and the other when it comes to this, Norse paganism religion. So I don't think they got into a fight about that. Hi, Laura. There are always 1A, 1B sub-articles. Us in layman's terms can't interpret them. That's how law is created from case studies over time that add interpretation. True. Is there DNA evidence? Well, Tobe says there is. Tobe says there is DNA evidence. Jerry Holman says that there is no DNA evidence that connects Richard Allen to the crime scene in his deposition. So there's DNA evidence, there's fingerprints, we just don't have any idea who the hell they belong to. I've said there was DNA. I don't think he should be believed, especially about what he was asked. Yeah, that's what I said. I do think just from the way that things seem to have transpired, that they just kind of just chatted with him and let him go. Now, I mean, if you want to talk more about like how he talks about his religion, his beliefs, I think he downplays some of the racism that goes along with all of that. It's my opinion, but you're now being accused of being part of a crime and it being a sacrifice, and a lot of people took that as a racial sacrifice because the Franks memo says one of the girl's moms was stepping outside of her race. Now, I don't think the defense is making that up. I think that's something that was probably brought into by the Click Murphy Ferenczi trio when they were doing the investigation, but we don't know that yet. I don't think I would have said I was on the bridge if I was guilty. Well, if you knew that somebody saw you on the bridge and you knew that somebody was going to ask those people if they saw you on the bridge and you lied about being on the bridge, I think you'd probably say you were on the bridge. I know a lot of people have an issue with the fact that he came forward and said that he was there. I don't have an issue with that. People like to insert themselves in all kinds of shit. I mean, fuck, look at what we're doing. Look at what we were just talking about. How many people want to insert themselves into a case that doesn't have anything to do with them. And I don't mean that about the people who are just asking for transparency. I mean that about the people who are writing about the other shit. Just clarify. Hey, Delphi dummies. If it's RA's DNA and fingerprints, will people still think he's innocent? Well, we're being told it's not from both sides of the fence here. So it would be very strange if all of a sudden, come trial, we're told that. I think if it's RA's DNA and fingerprints, no, Junior, absolutely not. If they come out and they say, hey, we have Richard Allen's DNA on the Delphi swimming sweatshirt, I don't think you're going to have people who are like, well, I don't know. Shit, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that because anything is possible. I think the majority of people are going to be like, what the fuck? Okay. Stop it in for just a moment. I'll catch the rest on replay crew later tonight. Okay. I hope you're doing okay, Laura. Thinking about you. Yeah, agree. I watched a video today where Ellie said there were 4 forensic teams at the crime scene for 4 days. Did all that happen where the bodies were found? Did you watch my short, Digital? I did. If you guys didn't see, I put the one I said I was going to clip, I put it in a short. So that it's there, it's saved, it's done. If you didn't watch it, it's like 59 seconds, literally. I had to make sure it was 59 seconds to make it a short. Hugh, Baldwin and Rosie got what they wanted with the dismiss filing. Future jury know of the investigations by the 3 cops. And I'm of the belief that Click will be testifying at trial. I do think he will. Somebody asked me, I posted, did you really, Tammy? Thank you. No way Tech's on scene 4 days, right? Not in my opinion, Tornado. Not in my opinion, because if we go back and we look at the Ron Logan interview that he does, they are standing there at that crime scene, and you don't see anybody there. You don't see anybody there. Healing Decay. So I was like, did you watch my short? Yeah, I do not think 4 days, but I did find it really interesting, and I thought I should make another one because Barbara McDonald is the one who says that they let the crime scene go and then they had to re-secure it later. So is he saying, he's not saying like 4 days straight. So is he saying like they were out there for a total of 4 days? Like they had to go back out there for 4 days? Because that interview, I swear it's on the 16th. That's where my brain says that interview is on the 16th. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yes, you're saying the same thing. Yeah. I think him coming forward is because they asked for help too, but the state will use it against him. Yeah. Hey, Kathy. Yeah, that would be a good short also. Resecuring the, yeah. So I was thinking like, okay, she's told here it's 4 days, and then she's over here saying that it's that many days, or that they went back. Ooh, Nursey Dog Mom. I live about 15 minutes outside of Delphi. All right, and tell us how you feel. Tell us what you think. I've chatted with a lot of different locals, and I get a very mixed opinion. And I don't mean like locals like, oh, I live in Delphi necessarily, but people who just live kind of in that area. Adrian, I was going to email you today because I'm like, where are you, girl? Where are you? Hey, T, will the alternate suspect info be dismissed or suppressed? How does that work if you know? The alternate suspect as in from the defense side? Or the secondary suspect, like the prosecution is kind of like leaned towards that there's potentially other people involved. Which one do you mean? And thank you for the super chat, and I've missed you. And don't think you didn't know that I didn't notice that you weren't here. Okay, let me see. Teresa, do you know about the bullet being found 2 weeks later by a hiker, and Ellie asked her to submit a photo? The state has no case, and they will rest their case on day 1. I've heard the rumor that there was somebody out there that found it. I've also heard the rumor that Mike Patty is the one that found it. I've also heard that the index, I don't want to say index because that kind of goes back to the Brandon Woodhouse thing. I've also heard that it is stated on there that the bullet was logged into evidence on the 15th. And collected, so it been collected the 14th, logged on the 15th. I've heard a lot of different things about the bullet, and then we hear Barbara McDonald who says she was told the bullet wasn't actually even found until she goes back, or till she goes back. Yeah, because she found it all of a sudden. I shouldn't say that because now people are gonna be like, Barbara McDonald found the bullet. Barbara McDonald did not find the bullet, or did she? No, sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me today. But she says that they didn't find the bullet until they went back and re-secured the crime scene, which, I mean, it's not abnormal. People are like, oh, the bullet could be completely out. Well, it could be, but as of right now, the bullet is in. The bullet is evidence. I mean, she's not letting it go. She denied their motion to get rid of it with no hearing. Yeah, the entire case is a red flag. Teresa, that is Ellie lying about it. Right. That's why I'm like, we're gonna have to wait. This is why I'm so ready for this trial. So like those little things like that it's like, nope, okay, now everybody has to be on the same page. Some other dude did it defense. Yeah. So I do not think that the defense team, in my opinion, is not going to be calling Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, Elvis Fields. They're not going to call those types of people to the stand. What they would do is they're going to probably bring it up in opening and closing statements. They'll probably have people like Click, Amber Holder, maybe even one of Elvis's sisters, maybe Mary, something like that. They would have those people testify. And Click would be their biggest one based on his investigation of the situation. Because you have to remember, the prosecution holds the burden of proof, legally. But if the prosecutor says, hey, this guy is the one we think did it, people are inclined to trust law enforcement. I mean, that's what you want to trust law enforcement. You want to trust the investigators, and you want to trust the prosecutors found the right guy. The other thing about human nature is that we want to hold somebody accountable for these types of crimes, specifically these types of crimes. We want somebody to get, put away, locked up, death sentence, whatever it is. We don't want these people walking the streets with our kids out there. So this person sitting at the table looks just as good as anybody else to be able to lock him up and throw away the key. So you have that. Now the defense comes in, and all they have to do is, all they have to do, they don't really have a hard job. They have a really hard job. They have to come in and create the reasonable doubt, or make it so that the prosecutor's evidence doesn't line up. They can either do it by impeaching, like showing that the people who are testifying for the prosecutor are incorrect, or they can do it by showing that the evidence is faulty. They can do it, that's like their process. They don't have to completely show every single person or have every single person that's in the some other dude did it scenario. They don't have to put them on the stand. They just have to give enough that the jury goes, well, what about that guy? What about that guy over there? Why didn't they go and follow up with him until, August of 2023? That's weird. And then, wait, his alibi is different than what his alibi was at that time. Well, does that make sense? Maybe. I don't know. That's what they need to do. So by adding some other dude did it, they do add another layer of what they have to do, and makes it a little bit harder for them. And I just totally got way behind in chat, and it did not scroll. What's up, Francis? What's up, Charmaine? What about Mike Thomas? I don't think Mike Thomas has a lot to offer. I just don't. The further back in the investigation these guys are part of, the harder it's going to be to convince the jury that they're up in the know about what the most recent stuff is. I don't know. I'm definitely going to present evidence against them if they're allowed. But themselves, no, I don't see it. Yeah, no. And this is a question that I was talking to somebody about yesterday too, is where is Murphy at in this whole thing? Is Murphy going to be testifying? Because I think that's going to be another one. If you get a Click and a Murphy, and if you're able to get in anything that Ferenczi had done in his investigation, that's a lot of reasonable doubt. So the prosecutor has to kibosh all of that. I'm sorry if I missed you guys, and thank you guys if anybody just popped in and I did not get a chance to say hello to you. Thank you guys for being here. Now let me check this. Let me download that real quick. Okay, let me see it. Let me see how long it is. Oh, okay. It's 73 pages. I'll have to. Did you not send me like a good highlighted version, Sleuthy? All right, let me go back. Where did I lost you guys in the? I lost you guys in the scheme of how many things are open on my computer. Yeah, Murphy, where are you? Okay, so let's go back over here talking about this. Okay, so like I said, not surprised. I'm not surprised it's dismissed. This is par for the course. And you're going to have another motion to dismiss. Like there's certain things that always happen. You're going to have another motion to dismiss as soon as the prosecutor rests their case. I mean, you're going to see it. The defense has to do that. That's part of their job. So it's like, these things are coming and you expect them to be denied, but they have to be on the record. They have to be there for anybody to be able to look and see if there are any errors. Like, well, you didn't have a problem with whatever they did during the trial. You didn't even request for it to be dismissed based on that. So they have to do it. So just know that too. Yes, do not panic when it happens. Right, I know. Yeah, Sleuth Bomb airs a lot of trials, or streams. I don't know why streams a lot of trials. So she's like, yeah, this motion to dismiss as they come, and they get denied, and then they come and they get denied, and they come and they get denied. If he was found guilty, it's a super train speed to the Supreme and over. He will walk with what's now on the record or not on because of goal. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to disagree with you, but I'm not all the way there that they aren't going to just be able to be like, no, this guy did it. Can Goal let the defense talk about the Odins in the lemonade? In the lemonade? Who's got lemonade in the courtroom? Adrian, you're not allowed any drinks in that courtroom. Super important. Okay. All right, so let me bring this up. This one's good. All right, give me 1 second, you guys. Okay, so no lemonade. Yeah. no. Oh, the motion in limine. Okay, so she denied that one. Let me see what you guys said. And this specifically addresses what you just asked. Okay, so Sleuthy she sent me the 73 pages, which I will sit down and read, but I don't know. I'm just going to pull up the specific parts. Maybe. Hold on, let me stop this real quick. See if I can. Why it doesn't want to load. Okay, there it is. Hi, Bella. I didn't see you here. Hello, gambler. Now I want lemonade. I know it's like 80 degrees here. I'll totally take limine. Motion in limine. Limine. I'm totally down for some lemonade, though. Is no one overseeing this judge? No, there is not. No, little gambler. Nobody oversees the judge. Hey, Jamil. Not to mention that the witness whom were lost in 2017 due to faulty equipment won't be there to ask, did you see this man that day? No, but I do think that there will be, there's no way that Baldwin or Rosie aren't going to make sure that that stuff is brought up at trial. Like, so where's that original interview? And so people are, I mean, I believe the jurors are still going to end up hearing some of what we're hearing now. It's just not going to be in the context that they want it to be. No, I didn't. Okay, now let me pull this back up. So Sleuthy sent me this. This would be an interesting read. There's just no way I can do it tonight with a read. I missed a super chat. Okay, sorry, I had to step away. I missed this. I think I got a super chat. Adrian, it's you again. Thank you. I think I'm worried that Gull won't let the defense talk about the Odins. Oh, well, she's denied the motion in limine, so I don't think she's not going to let them talk about it there anyway. And Connie, thank you. You were already a member, so thank you for rejoining. I just saw that too. bring this back up. Okay, so this is, now what she sent me is called Disfavored Treatment of Third-Party Guilt Evidence. So it's essentially like 73 pages of what it looks like to try to do like a Saudi defense, like some other dude did at defense. So I was like, that's why I was like, I don't have time to read all of it, but can you highlight me something that, you know, highlight the, yeah, no motion in limine. Well, she denied it. The Avery trial thus illustrates the potential limitations of even a strong case of police misconduct and tainted evidence toward producing reasonable doubt in the minds of jurors when no third-party guilt evidence is presented. The next one has the full thing that I will read. Okay. While Stephen Avery's actual guilt or innocence remains in doubt, there is no doubt about the innocence of Timothy Cole. His case powerfully illustrates the related second problem, the risk of excluding strong third-party guilt evidence when the third party is in fact guilty and the defendant is in fact innocent. In 1985, a Texas Tech University student named Michelle Murray was getting into her car on campus when a man approached her, asking to borrow jumper cables. Within a few seconds, the man shoved her into the car, drove her to a secluded area a few miles away, and raped her. Murray reported the crime independently after describing her attacker as being a black man between 5'6" and 5'9", tall, 5'6" and 5'9", bug-eyed, and a smoker. After a botched photo array, Murray tentatively identified Texas Tech student and U.S. Army veteran Timothy Cole as the rapist. At trial, Cole's counsel repeatedly tried to enter third-party guilt evidence that a violent felon named Jerry Johnson committed the rape. The district attorney ridiculed these attempts, and the evidence was largely blocked by the trial court on the ground that facts pointing to the existence of another suspect were irrelevant. Cole was convicted and sentenced to 25 years in prison, steadfastly maintaining his innocence. Cole continued to fight his case until his appeals ran out. In 1999, Cole suffered an asthma attack and died in prison. Waiting until after the statute of limitations had run out on Murray's rape, Jerry Johnson began attempting to contact Cole in 1995. He was not successful until 2007. 8 years after Cole's death, when he contacted a reporter from the Lubbock Avalanche Journal, unaware of Cole's demise, he wrote a letter to Cole as well as the Innocence Project of Texas. Johnson gave the Innocence Project a confession that could only have been given by the true rapist. Later, DNA evidence confirmed that Jerry Johnson and not Timothy Cole raped Michelle Murray. Thus, the disfavored treatment of third-party guilt evidence goes beyond abstract concerns about fairness and due process and go to the heart of our cherished assumptions about tilting the criminal adjudication system to protect the innocent. Okay, where was Timothy Cole's trial? Where is that at? I know that case, but I just cannot think. I'm going to look at it real quick. And then I'll come back to chat and catch up with you guys. Give me 1 second. Timothy Cole. State. Oh, they say Texas? I think they actually said Texas in the thing, didn't they? Dumb. It was Texas. Okay, that's interesting. So I wonder when the judge was actually declining to let any of that evidence in. This thing is chock full of knowledge. If you want to drop the link so people can read it, that would be cool too. We can also go through. We can set up another live and read through it too if you want. So judge didn't let in the evidence of the third party guilt. So I know in some states, particularly Wisconsin, you have to actually they have to have another hearing in order to even bring up third party guilt. So some states have it where you can't just go around blaming anybody like all willy-nilly. You have to come in and prove that how you're going to show the third party did it. I feel my blood pressure going up. Have you ever had their lemon like, what are you talking about? ATS. That's some pancakes. Some shit lemonade works. Yeah. Well, I think here's, and we keep talking about that we're going to go over the stuff for the Karen Reed case, which I really want to do, and I just need to get my shit together and do it. But that is why you're seeing such a huge fight currently on trying to stop her from being tried if somebody else actually was messing with the evidence. Like, because if she's convicted, getting that overturned or done an appeal is much, much harder than fighting it during the actual trial. So it's problematic if these judges are making sure that they can't actually bring any of this information in and give the jury the option or the opinion or the right. None of my other words were right. Giving them the ability to see everything as a whole. Oh, Kel, thank you for the lemonade fund. Sweet. Definitely use some lemonade. And Lily B, thank you so much for the gifted memberships. Welcome. I still haven't picked a name. I've got to do that. The criminalities, I think, is what it is. And Dom, did Dom do Dom? Dom, how you been? I hope you're doing okay. So many people that haven't been around, and I've missed you guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here. Lily B's just throwing out memberships for everybody. She's like, hey. Yes, what Nathan Shaw said. Here's the link for the expert fund. Okay, that is back up. Perfect. Chicken Nugget sent a super chat. Chicken Nugget. Lemonade and wheat stands and go. Milk for Nick. Yeah, I'm not going to say the other part. But yes, that's the fund. That's that fund, I guess. I'm going to have to make a lemonade emoji. Members emoji. Oh, Dom, goodness gracious. For the Fluffers Fund. That's right. I forgot about that. In order to succeed, they need to present a case, not just raise reasonable doubt. Well, that's what I'm saying. So it makes it much harder for them when they have to add on like third-party guilt, because they are going to, but they're not going to bring, that's what I'm saying, they're not going to bring these guys on, though. They're not going to put Elvis Fields up there. They're not going to put Brett Holder up there. I mean, if they did, I would be like, holy shit, it'd be like a Perry Mason moment. But it would be interesting to even just throw them on the witness list. Just want a fair trial. That's the bottom line. Just give us the damn fair trial, and it's a struggle because like it's part of what we're going to end up reading. Let me get rid of these real quick. In this motion or this response from Nick today, I'm like, some of the things that he has in here, I'm like, well, that's not really a fair assessment when they can't actually have an expert to feed them the info that they need, like to teach them some of the things. But that's not, we'll talk about that. Okay, so here is the state of Indiana's motion for leave of court to subpoena third-party records for mental health records, and the state of Indiana's motion for leave of court to subpoena third-party records. So Shay Hughes, who's on Twitter, is a defense attorney in the state of Indiana, and he was talking on Twitter about the fact that you can't just okay these without a hearing. Well, I'm struggling with this, and I'm hoping to get some clarification. Hey, Sammy, everybody loves a good conspiracy myth, but all the signs point to the man who confessed. All right, everything else, including magical, mystical, sticks as a fantasy. Well, I don't think they're magical or mystical. They're not like Dave Carter's magic hands, but they're there, and they're factual. And it's just like saying that the bullet's not there. We can't ignore all the things that are physically there. We have to understand them and then come to a conclusion. So I respect that is your conclusion, but there's nothing. I don't think there's anything magical. I don't think it's a huge conspiracy. That's not what we're talking about. So I just think that there's things that can't be ignored. There's things that can't be ignored on all parts of this, and that's why I'm stuck here. Like and I keep telling you guys that, like, I'm stuck. I can't get out because I'm like, I want the damn answers. And there's other cases that I'm like, I want to talk about with you guys, but I get so stuck. Have they got all the money the defense needs for the experts? No, they do not currently. They still have the fund open. Okay. So he was saying that you have to do this with a hearing, but when we were reading through the motion to dismiss, and I don't think I have it up anymore. Let me see. I want to talk about this because I think that they agreed upon this already. So I think that she's doing it without I don't think there's anything wrong here because why is that not opening? I mean, I just want to see if you guys interpret this the same way that I do. Because they talk about this at the end of the hearing, and she's like, okay, well, there's no objection to it, so we'll just go ahead and do it. And then Rosie's like, Judge, can I talk for a minute? And he comes up and he's like, hey, I'm already doing, like, we're already, like, giving over the information. So, agreed to medical. That's why I want to see jujitsu. Let me see if I don't know why it's not coming up. Open up, you darn thing. Oh, it did. Oopsie. Okay. I want to see what it says. And because Rosie's like, hey, I'm still getting this stuff. I just want to make sure that, I can go through it, and then I have no problem giving it to him as it's coming in. And he says he's going to file a response. And she says, okay, well, you have like until March 29th or whatever it is. So I just want to read through it real quick. That's not that one. Rosie, Judge, sorry, may I? Yeah. I'm opposed to the court granting that at this point. We're still within the 15-day notice period. And what's going on over here is that I made a new request from the Department of Corrections after we were reinstated in this case, and they had just provided that to me, and there's nothing untimely about any of this. But it just happened, I want to say it was last week, Mr. Gallagher from the DOC has been working with me to try to get that information. So there, and when I received it, we are having difficulty with accessing it. Some through Dropbox, some through Google, blah, blah, blah. We're trying to get the information converted into a format that we could all read. And I do believe Mr. McLeland's correct that I do think that there was information available to me that the DOC had about Mr. Allen, medical and psychiatric, when I made the first request, that I didn't get, because now that I have kind of a refreshed request, I'm seeing additional stuff. So this is a long way of saying I would like a chance to review what I just received before I just agree to disclose it, because I don't know what it is, and it's quite voluminous, as you might imagine with medical records. I know one of the files I think that they shared with Mr. McLeland was already 900 pages. In fairness, there were some blank pages. The court allowed me 15 days or whatever time period is left to file my motion to quash. See, and he does not file that. He doesn't file a motion to quash. So they already talk about it. I really do believe that's probably not going to happen because I'm trying to be transparent with Mr. McLeland. I already showed him the first 2 dumps I got, so I'd like some time to look at that before and she says the 15 days is up March 29th, so it needs to be filled out. He says, very good, thank you. Anything else? Nope. So he's talking about the medical and the psychiatric. He's agreeing to give it to them. He says he just wants to be able to look at it first to determine whether he's going to file a motion to quash. He says he doesn't believe that he's actually going to file one because he's doing everything he can to be transparent. So I don't see any issue here. I don't see any issue here without having the hearing because they've already agreed to it. I mean, they essentially he's saying, like, I don't even think I'm going to file a motion to quash. Yeah, mental too. It says medical and psychiatric right here. So let me just read you guys. He definitely said he's opposed at this point, but he wanted, yeah, but that doesn't mean that Shay isn't right. She was ready to grant it that day. That's true. But I'm just thinking that they weren't even requesting a hearing. So I'm wondering if she was just like, well, you guys have already agreed upon this, that doesn't need a hearing. Or is Shay essentially saying that it doesn't matter if they agree or not, she has to hold a hearing? I don't know. That's what I'm wondering, because I know this got, this part gets skipped on all the notes that people are talking about because it wasn't important to the people listening. But now it's actually relevant, and thank goodness we do have the transcript to be able to go back and say this conversation did happen. Yeah, I just don't think it's that big. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But like I said, I'm not an attorney, and I'm not an attorney in Indiana. So I just think that they were already in agreement that they were going to give him the info. You guys are in here talking about food. Stop. I'm starving. You just walk in and buy. You guys. All right. You're making me hungry. Yeah, I'm not an attorney, but I play one on YouTube. So I don't think this is, like I said, this is just my opinion. It seems that they're totally okay with, like, he didn't file a motion to quash the subpoena. Like, he's like, I just want to be transparent. I'm going to give him anything he needs anyway. So that's kind of what I think that he was good with it. One issue is Nick filed a motion. One, he needs to file a petition. Then a confidential hearing needs to be held on the record. If they agree to it, though. But if Rosie's like, hey, I'm already going to give it to you, does any of that have to take place? That's what I want to know. Okay, let's see. I think that was it. That's the last one. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a cat. I'm not a cat. I'm not a cat, and I'm here. I'm here. I'm ready to test. I'm ready to go, Judge. I'm not a cat. That was my favorite fucking clip ever. That thing makes me laugh every time I see it. Okay, so now we're on to Nick's response to the third Frank's request. Okay, let me see. The language is must. Okay. I need more Zoom clips. I know. I should just make that my filter. Defense probably didn't see anything that would at least hurt his case. So what we hear on the internet streets is that there's this confession to the healthcare people, right? And that's why Nick wants this so bad, is because there's this confession. That's rumor coming from the internet. We don't know. Do you have the third Frank's up as well for reference? No, I can grab it really quick though. I think I have it handy. Oh, the other thing I don't think I read was that the judge did approve. She did approve the funding for Auger. I don't know how that's how you say her name. Auger, Jennifer Auger, the attorney that the defense wants to bring on to help with getting the FBI depositions. So she did approve that. You probably just have it quicker than me, and you're just like, here, just use this one. She did. I bet she did. Yes, she did. She's like, you're taking too long to find it. It's right here. All right. So we have that. And we'll bring that over here. We're good. Thank you, Sleuthie. She always takes care of me. I'm a cat. Okay, so this is a lot, and it's actually pretty detailed. But we're about to be 39 days until trial, and we still have no ruling on the motion for parity. Yeah. She's still got she's got a few outstanding things still. Are they in the Delphi Docs Reddit? Is there some way to read the Frank's memos? Yes, they are on the Delphi Docs Reddit. I can also. Sleuthy, is your thing public? I know that you have a spreadsheet, and Unraveling has a spreadsheet of all the filings. I also have a spreadsheet of all the filings, but mine is way behind. So you always do. You make my life way easier. Okay, Sleuthy can link them all for you too, so that way you can just grab them right from here and then have them. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at what Nick is saying. Like I said, it's kind of a lot, so just get your drinks and be ready to go. Did she approve additional counsel, or did she just say that they could submit an invoice? Payment seems optional, in my opinion. Well, let me see. And let me see the wording that she used. Where is it? I think I downloaded it. Okay, that's the motion to dismiss that she got rid of. That's the ex parte communications. Here. So it comes down to the court, reviewed Attorney Baldwin's verified petition for public funds, now grants said motion. Attorney Jennifer Auger is authorized to submit invoices to the court, and upon approval by this court, the Carroll County auditor will be directed to reimburse Attorney Auger for her fees at the same hourly rate as that of Attorney Baldwin and Attorney Rosie. So that's that order. So she just submits just like they do, and then gets paid if she deems it okay. So yeah, Sleuthy has all the docs. So now comes the state of Indiana by prosecuting attorney Nicholas C. McLeland and files its response to Richard Allen's third Frank's notice and request for Frank's hearing based upon newly discovered evidence and request for findings of facts and conclusions of law upon any ruling on this request referred to by the state as the defense's third motion for Frank's hearing. The state has reviewed the defense's motion and believes that the defense has misstated the facts in the motion and would respectfully ask the court to deny the motion without a hearing. The defense's third motion for a Frank's hearing alleges that Tony Liggett failed to include information about geofencing data in the probable cause affidavit for the search warrant for the residence of Richard Allen. The defense claims that if this information was included, the court would not have found probable cause to issue the search warrant. The defense seems to claim that the missing information is exculpatory as to Richard Allen. However, the information from the geofencing data is mischaracterized and interpreted by the defense. I think that's probably supposed to be misinterpreted by the defense. Even if included in the affidavit, that geofencing data would not negate, cancel, or eliminate the facts that supported probable cause for the search warrant regarding Richard Allen's residence. Further, Sheriff Tony Liggett did not intentionally lie or omit material information about evidence in an effort to mislead the judge in the search warrant affidavit. Okay, so he did not intentionally lie. The state of Indiana filed charges against the defendant Richard Allen in this cause on the cause of action on October 28, 2022 for the 2 counts of murder in violation. The defendant has been in custody since his arrest. The court appointed the defendant representation on November 14th. Since that time, several motions and responses have been filed by both the state and the defense. The defense filed its first motion for a Frank's hearing on September 18th, 2023, with a memorandum, attachments, and several exhibits. That motion was followed the defendant's supplemental motion for Frank's hearing filed on October 2nd, and the defense additional Frank's notice filed on October 3rd. All motions were denied by this court without a hearing. I caught that last night. Ooh. Tuning in late. Sorry. Hi. Starting from the beginning. 1.5 speed. All right, Nicole. I'll talk less fast. You can get busy. Let's see how that sounds. 2-week trial. I know. His excuse is Liggett doesn't know what exculpatory means. Okay. The state has outlined the test used in Franks in its prior 2 responses. In order to have a Franks hearing, the defendant's attack on probable cause must be based on deliberate falsehoods or acts of reckless disregard for the truth, and those allegations must be accompanied by an offer of proof. The claim should point out specifically the portion of the warrant affidavit that is claimed to be false and should be accompanied by affidavits or sworn statements or reliable statements of witnesses. The defense must show that there is inaccurate or omitted information and that probable cause is lacking if the omitted information is included. And that's Franks v. Delaware. Herein, the defense claims omissions, if included, would negate probable cause for the search warrant of Richard Allen's residence. Specifically, the defense claims that 1, Sheriff Tony Liggett concealed from the judge that at least 3 phones were moving in and around the crime scene at the times when the murders would have been taking place, and that 2, the way that Lieutenant Jerry Holman memorialized his interview with Turco should cause alarm about what law enforcement chose to include or not include in their reports. So we're going to talk about the first issue. I'm waiting to see if Sleuthy sent me this yet. All right, we'll keep going. So, like, the first Franks, one of the things that they're talking about is that he puts in there that Sarah Carbaugh said that she saw a guy with a blue, muddy, bloody jacket, and it's like, nope, Sarah Carbaugh actually said she saw a guy with a tan, muddy jacket and never used the word bloody. Now, when we were reading through that, even back in the day, the question was always, if you change it, would Judge Diener have not signed it? I've struggled with that, because even if you put in, say Liggett was wrong or Liggett lied intentionally or any of those things, would Judge Diener still have signed it if it had the correct wording? And that's always been the biggest thing, is because he would have. Well, 1, he signs all of these documents, he signs all of these subpoenas and search warrants and whatnot. He signs all of it, gets him transferred to the DOC, and then he bounces. So I don't think the question is really would Judge Diener have signed it, because I think he would have. So that Sheriff Tony failed to make the judge aware that geofencing data showed at least 3 persons in and around the crime scene at the time of the murders. In our case, the defense is alleging that the crime was committed by several individuals involved in Odinism. The defense has filed several motions with this theory contained in the motions. The defense continues to promote this theory to the public with no evidence to support the theory. The defense have come to the point where they are making false statements in their motions in a continued effort to support the theory. This is one of those occasions. The defense claims that the geofencing data shows 3 phones in the area of the crime scene when the murders occurred. I'll be honest, I wasn't thinking immediately when they put that in their request that it has to be the 3 people they're talking to. Where's my chat frozen? So I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. The defense claims that the geofencing data shows 3 phones in the area of the crime scene when the murders occurred. The defense admittedly speculates that a map with 3 phone numbers is geofencing data that provides evidence of any of 3 scenarios. 1, the people are walking around and witness the murders, and none of them identify Richard Allen. 2, the persons walking around saw nothing and the murders did not happen on February 13th. Or 3, the persons walking around committed the murders. This, of course, promotes the defense's theory. Unfortunately, the defense do not understand how to read or interpret geofencing data, and once again have misinterpreted the information and have put misinformation in their motion. The defense was advised on March 4th of 2023 that the state witnesses specializing in geofencing data would be ISP First Sergeant Christopher Cecil, FBI agent Kevin Horan, and or ISP Sergeant Pete Glogoza. However, the defense filed their third motion for Frank's hearing based on newly discovered evidence that was available during the first discovery disclosure in October of 2023. And in the second discovery disclosure after counsel was reinstated. The state witnesses for geofencing data interpretations would testify. Okay, hold on. So I have some comments here. So what they're saying is, hey, on this witness list that we gave you on March 4th, that you knew that we were having these FBI agents testify. You knew that they were going to come in. Well, okay, great. And you're going to have them testify to what? Because I don't know, since I didn't actually go through this right before this, I don't remember where exactly it is. But in here, they're talking about let me see if I can find it. In here, they're talking about the fact that they had gotten this information right before they were removed from the case in 2023. They had just gotten it, just knew about it. And ironically, it's actually one of the things they talk about when it comes to this whole quote unquote leak of information. They testify that they had just gotten it right beforehand. So they didn't know a lot about it, right? And then they have to turn it all back over. And then he gives it back to him. Okay, let me pull this up real quick. So then he gives it back to him when they're back on the case. And so now they're re-going through all of this information and they're like, hey, and in their Franks motion, they're like, hey, we have this map. We don't really know what it is because there's nothing else that goes along with it. There's no, like, what did you guys do about this? And they're saying, hey, like, there's these 3 phones that are essentially unaccounted for. And we want to know what you did about the 3 phones. Did you follow up with these people? Like, where are the interviews of these people? So on and so forth. And then he's making it like, nope, this goes along with their theory that these 3 people are like Odins. Well, that's not what they're stating. They don't actually state that in their motion. They're stating like, hey, what did you actually do about these phones? Like, where do we have that information? Have you turned that over yet? Yeah, they received the geofence dump on 10/6 of 2023. And then they were told to cease working on the case on 10/12 of 23. So he's like, yeah, they've had this since October. Well, come on, that's not really a fair assessment. So they get this back in January, if they even got it right away, or if they just got it in one of the other ones, and they're saying, hey, you know what? We just want more information about what this is. Can you guys tell us who you used, who it is? So they just their witness list just says, hey, we're going to have these first sergeants and these FBI agents testify. Does it actually say that they're going to be testifying to the geofence stuff? We don't know that. But then you have now them being denied funding to have an expert to come in and counter that they're going to have this. And you're saying that they don't know how to read it or they're interpreting it wrong. Well, they're not allowed to have an expert. So, and you're not giving them all the data. So I struggle with that. What was the other part? There was something else I wanted to say here. However, the defense felt that there was new discovery evidence that was available during the first discovery disclosure. Yeah, see, I don't agree with that. Okay, let me pull up what Sleuthy just sent real quick before we move into the AT&T stuff. That's that one. That's this one. Okay, 8/12/23 homeowners 96 Nick sends this email. Okay, I'll pull those up then when we talk about Turco, because I think that's issue number 2. How much do YouTube experts make? Asking for a friend. Well, typically you make about $1 every 1,000 views. That's how much you make as an expert. The same as the layman's. And so to say like these people are either witnesses to the crime because of the area that they're in, which most people were asking when Cheyenne was actually out and about, like on social media, were asking her, like, did she hear anything? Because the timing of when she was there was quite interesting. When she would have gotten to the end of the bridge would have been at right around 3 o'clock. And that's when she would have been at the end, the same edge of the bridge, same end of the bridge that the girls were told to go down the hill. Okay. They know the crime scene was not recorded. Hide what you can explain or want to show. Hide it. Yeah. Or get rid of it, delete it, make it go away. A geofence isn't a tool per se. It's a digital fence used to pull data from a very specific location and time. Yes. Okay, so let's get into this AT&T stuff. This is obviously, I am not an expert on this stuff, so we're gonna just go through it, and then YouTube takes 60%, so you get a whole 40 cents. Whoop whoop. That's what you get for being a YouTube expert. I think it's vice versa. I think you get 60%. Okay, so AT&T, so the state witnesses for geofencing data interpretations would testify that. So this is, he's essentially doing what he's saying that they should have done in theirs. Like he's doing like an offer to proof, and he's talking about like what these guys would say and what these expert people would testify to. So AT&T collects data from devices to include geolocation data. AT&T geolocation information is gathered from 3 sources: GPS first, known Wi-Fi triangulation locations second, and cell sites or timing advance, which occurs when a signal is sent from the cell tower to the device and then back to the tower. GPS, if received, can be very good with an estimated accuracy range of 3 to 15 meters. Wi-Fi or triangulation estimated ranges vary between 15 and 100 meters, and cell sites or timing advance can range up to several thousand meters. The cell sites or timing advance is inaccurate because the geofencing data estimates where the phone is at based on how long it takes the signal to go from the tower to the cell phone and back again. This means that the device can be 3 to 15 meters from the pinpoint on the map up to several thousand meters, depending on how the information was collected from the device to the tower. From this, they're intentionally ignoring GPS, which comes from Google, and using the very immaculate cell tower ping. But that doesn't make sense to me, because that's like the opposite of geofencing. And am I wrong? And inaccurate is what you meant. Inaccurate cell tower pings. I need to get a geofencing person on that break all this down for us. What'd you think of, Carla? I Robin with a Y. Nick calls the defense liars several times in this document, but never disputes what they said about Alan's phone not being there at the time. Yes. They don't do 1, 1, 2, 3. It takes all the info together. They're trying to say it's not accurate because they don't have GPS, but they accidentally say they do have GPS. If BH and RL had a .40 caliber gun, why wouldn't they do extraction mark testing on those? Okay, let's keep going. Why the hell he has to use meters? When interpreting the geolocation data, you can only consider that the device is somewhere in or near to the estimated range area that AT&T provides. Thus, if AT&T geolocation in a geofence provided a Wi-Fi location with a center point on the Carroll County Courthouse, one could deduct that the location is in a range of 15 to 100 meters from or around that center point. If that same scenario included a cell site or timing advance location, the actual location of the device could be in range of 1,000 meters plus from where the pinpoint is located. That could include the entire town of Delphi and beyond. But that's the cell phone dump, not the geofence. Am I understanding that incorrectly? 10 to 50 feet. Thank you. Yeah, the GPS was just fine when they used it for Logan. Geofencing Google does an aggregate of GPS, Wi-Fi, RIED, internet, and app data too. They also can tell when your phone sees another phone. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It had to take a call 15 minutes behind. I love how geofence was relevant for Ron Logan's search, but not relevant for Richard Allen's. I lead with love. Okay, I'll answer your email. No, you're understanding what they say. They're just misleading you on purpose. Okay. They only used a cell phone ping for Ron Logan, which is what they're saying they're using here, but they're referring to it as geofencing, but that's not what it is. A person is in a rural area, oftentimes GPS and Wi-Fi. It's not an accurate way to pinpoint the location of the device. Further, geofencing does not track movement. So the fact that a pinpoint moves within a certain area is not indicative of a phone moving within that area. Wait, see, this is really just going to throw me because I've listened to a lot of people testifying that are from CAST, and a lot of the times that's the shit that puts these people away. This just seems like they're just doing this is like the like a cell phone, like a tower dump. And so yeah, what everybody was talking about, like there's only one tower in 2017 or two towers if now or whatever it is. And so everybody's phones would have been pinging everywhere. They basically pick a window of time with a cell phone tower and they see every phone that connected to it within a set period of time. Think Adelson's. Yeah. So driving a geo through a fence is not considered evidence. No. Yeah, I'm very confused on, and I think that you guys are right. I think it's being worded to intentionally make you confused, but I don't know. They are arguing like they're trying to get the evidence thrown out, but I'm I'm just I'm confused on why they're acting like this information isn't from the geofencing. Okay, so the map that the defense referred to is actually geofence data from AT&T. The points on the map represent GPS longitude latitude points provided as part of a geofence from AT&T. Each longitude latitude point has a range of uncertainty. The point is not where the phone is, it is simply the center point of the measurement. So even though the longitude latitude point is near the crime scene, the actual phone could be more than 5,000 meters away from the point in any direction. The points have no date time associated with them on the map, and so the map does not indicate what date and time the phone hit on that pinpoint. All this information was provided to the defense in a spreadsheet form with discovery. They either chose to ignore that information or did not understand how to read the information. I'm confused on this also because if the information about the timing and the dates is provided in this defense spreadsheet, isn't that what they're using to say, hey? Okay. The defense's conclusion that 3 devices were found in or near the murder scene location at the time of the murders and what geofencing data means is an inaccurate evaluation or interpretation that is not supported by an analysis by someone with specialized training or knowledge in geofencing. Okay. Their conclusion that 3 devices were found in or near the murder scene location at the time of the murders and what geofencing data means is an inaccurate evaluation or interpretation that is not supported by an analysis by someone with a specialized training or knowledge in geofencing data. Okay. Hmm. The defense's conclusion fail to consider the estimated range of those devices in the AT&T records or how the pinpoint data was collected. Further, although phones may have a pinpoint on a map that is in the area of the crime scene, the actual phone could be several thousand meters away. No geolocation expert assisting in the investigation concluded that cell phones were in or around the crime scene when the murders occurred. The defense further fails to state that the owners of those phones were interviewed and cleared by investigators. Well, I think that's what they were actually asking in one of their filings was, what did you do to follow up with these people? This was certainly Sheriff Liggett's understanding when he signed the affidavit of probable cause. Okay, so whether they did or didn't, Liggett thought they did. Liggett thought they were interviewed and cleared, so he was good. So he didn't intentionally lie to get anything. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking, like, I'm not educated on this, and I know I'm not. So I'm also very aware of what I know and what I don't know. And I don't know. I'm not fluid in this, but just from listening to testimony, I'm like, this isn't the same thing. So he's saying, like, we used geofencing, but then we didn't. And there's no geofencing expert. Is that not what he says? Where is it? Here. Yeah. That witnesses specializing in geofencing data, these are the witnesses they're going to use that specialize in geofencing data right here. But then they're talking about that there is nobody. I'm so confused. Hey, Sleuthy, are you busy? Can I send you a link to come up real quick? Just they leave me. So no phone pinged at 2 a.m. 2 a.m. is when they got the last location. Yes. And the ping was supposedly around 5:30. She may have left me. Oh, there you are. Did you leave me? Don't leave me. Shoot. Where did I lost you guys again? Here you are. Okay. So you're not confused. You're understanding that they're arguing this info isn't accurate and they're wrong. Okay. Thank you. I'm just like, this is not adding up to me. She's very busy. She's looking for funny Zoom clips. Mike said Tobe called him at 5 a.m. I thought he called it 2. Okay. Thank you.
I had to change the picture.
Oh, yeah, you're still Andy Goosey.
It defaulted to it.
Okay,
So,
can you help? I have to pee really bad. Can you handle this and make some things clear for them and me too? I'll be right back.
So I think what you were saying was, wait, let me look at the chat so I know. So we're basically, what are we going back and forth about? Are we going back and forth about the fact that there is no report or documents from the person that did it, but yet he spouts off 3 names of experts? Is that what we're confused about? I was very busy looking for funny Zoom clips. So basically what this is, so when the defense is talking about this geofence evidence and the map that was created, those 3 people that he is trying to pull a fast one, those 3 people that they listed in their response are people that they're calling experts, but they're not any of the people that actually worked on the GPS or the geofencing. They're not who created the map, none of that stuff. I think it's important that the defense specifically separates when they're talking about, so for instance, I'm looking at and I was just going back over because I was kind of dumbfounded when I was going through this stuff last night, but I was going back over what they have yet to be given. So in their motion to compel, they list off everything that they still don't have. And they very specifically say when they're talking about cell dump data and when they're talking about geofence GPS data. Yeah, the geofencing that they're talking about now is the map of the GPS data. And it's not all of the GPS data. It says specifically the defense received certain geofencing evidence that at least 3 persons were in and around the crime scene, and none of the owners of the phones have any connection to Richard Allen. Said geofence evidence was so important to somebody involved in the investigation that they created a map and plotted the movements of these persons, including movements that show that at least one of these persons was within 60 to 100 yards of the crime scene at a time while the murders would have been committed according to law enforcement's timelines.
Thank you.
Fiend is exactly right. Mm-hmm.
So this is to try to make it so that this evidence isn't important because of the fact that Richard Allen's phone is not there.
Right. They don't need it. So if they don't need it and they don't have anything to present against Richard Allen, it's really goes against them for that to come in at all. Because they specify on here that they are, so they ask all of the questions about the geofence, but then they point out specifically like Kelsey's cell dump information
Right.
for purposes of a timeline. Like they're very specific about what they're asking for. And I have a hunch that they know exactly who created that map. See, I think it's important to realize that they have caught several lies at this point. And so sometimes when they're saying certain things, I think it's meant to, like, are you going to keep lying about this particular fact in pleadings because we don't have anything on the record? Like, they're really trying very hard to build a record.
So, okay. I guess so. My understanding then is correct that what we're talking about right now in this, they're saying up here is that they're going to have these geofence experts to come to testify, but what they're actually talking about is like the cell phone dump that is essentially going to cover the entire town of Delphi.
Meaning
which
it
is
would cover
two different things that they did.
If there's Kelsey's data or the girls' is, because the girls should have some data. Like Libby's phone should have some type of data. If they did a tower dump, she was using her phone. She supposedly sent something on Snapchat, so she would have been pinging.
Okay, it's part of the defender guidelines to establish a record. They have to. Okay. Where did we leave off? Where did I leave off?
See, Nick's a dummy, I think, because I think that he won't. And now that you have this, I'm sorry, but this is clearly written by that woman.
I know.
It's entirely different from any other thing he's ever written. And I think that she may not know like all the things yet. I expect for this to be I expect unless she like immediately wakes up tomorrow morning and denies it without a hearing, I think that they'll have something to say about this.
You think they're going to respond to his response?
I do, because even the stuff about Turco, which I know you're not at yet, so I won't go there, but even that stuff they try to write as though the defense said something that they didn't say. So, but you would have to go back and look at what they actually did say to see what they really did say. She's saying like, well, we'll get there.
Okay. Well, the last document from him and this one, I'm like, these are quite interesting. They're not his typical way of putting things together. So I'm like, he's either really gearing up and getting ready to go, or he's got some help. But I don't know that he has help, so I don't want to claim that he has help. But there's something to it. Okay, so the defense was advised on March 4th, 2023. Wait, how did I get back up there? That's not where I wanted to be. There's the map the defense referred to is actually the geofence data from AT&T. Okay, the defense is including the three advisors. Where did I already read this?
Did you see what she just? So she just said that the defense, the data that they're referencing is geofence data from AT&T, so not cell tower dump from AT&T. Read the next.
But what they're explaining isn't what I understand geofencing to be.
What she's saying is these guys are dumb, and this map is just like the dots are just dots of reference points, not necessarily points to a particular phone. And they're saying we're looking at 3 specific phones whose movements were tracked all within the geofence. And here's the times that we saw them. And
right.
So, but she's making it an argument of they're looking at these, like, picture a map picture Google Maps and put it on like the one where you can actually see all the grids, like
Mm.
where each of the 4 lines meet, put a dot. And they're saying that she's trying to say that that's what this represents, is what they're looking at.
Hmm. Do we have any? Is there anybody who watches the channel that actually does geofencing? Like that's like their job. Like anybody who's done it or does it? That's what I'm curious about. I would love to have somebody who actually does this for a living come up and break this down to me like I'm 5. And hi to everybody that just popped in. I'm thinking that maybe CJ's live just ended. Thank you
And
guys.
also,
Over.
like, she made a really good argument for why they need to have experts approved.
Right? That was my first instinct. I'm like, okay, so you're saying they don't understand it and that they're misinterpreting it, but then the judge is saying, well, sorry, we're not going to let you have an expert that's going to help you understand it.
Yeah.
And she's not citing.
But our geofence experts who did not put together the reports that you're talking about or the map that you're talking about, you have a chance to cross-examine them. It's like, okay, then I'll get up there and ask them. They're gonna be like, I don't know. I didn't create the report. I didn't make that map. I don't know what that is.
And the whole question was, we want to know who made the map.
I think that they know. I think they're just pretending like it doesn't exist the way that they're saying it exists.
There's something funky about it. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on, but this is not how I understand it to be. So, no date.
This argument would never be happening if they had a cell tower dump that places Richard Allen there, or geofence data that places Richard Allen there. This would not have ever come out.
The geofencing would absolutely be pertinent then, because it's Richard Allen's phone's right there at the time of the crime.
Correct.
I feel very gaslit by these last couple of documents. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what I know, and maybe it's like, I don't know.
That's exactly what it is.
Is that what it is? Is that what my problem is? And I'm like,
exactly what it is. Yes.
Okay, no geolocation expert assisting in the investigation concluded that cell phones were in or around the crime scene when the murders occurred. The defense further fails to state that the owners of those phones were interviewed and cleared by the investigators. This was certainly that. Okay, we read that part. So the defense should be required to provide reliable statements or sworn affidavits of persons properly qualified to interpret geofencing data to support their claim that the omitted information, if included in the probable cause affidavit, would cause the judge to deny the search warrant request for Richard Allen's residence.
You know what's crazy about that? It's like, okay, so what you're referring to as an expert, she won't provide funds for an expert, but are you saying that whatever law enforcement officer that put together this stuff when they were actively investigating the case and then subsequently determined who these 3 people were to apparently interview them and clear them, which we know what that looks like now? Are we saying that that's unreliable, that their work in the investigation was unreliable?
I don't know. Then are those not the same people that they're calling and have on their witness list?
No, they're not.
So and then I'm really curious. Okay, so Travis says, I've had geofencing in 3 real cases and have reviewed dozens and Celebrate reports from geolocation data. I can do the basics, but I have a cell phone expert at the University of Texas on technical. Can we get him to come on, Travis? Can we get him to come on and break it all down for us?
We could pay him $1 an hour.
$1 1,000 views.
$1 1,000 views. That's the going rate these days.
People are like, you cover this case for money.
I'm rolling in money.
Oh yeah, my $1 per 1,000 views. Okay, so I didn't even realize what time it was, but I do have to. Okay, so let's get through this part because this is important, and I want to make sure we get through all the things. But I do have to pick up Kaylee. So, Okay, does Lieutenant Holman's summary of his Professor Turco interview support the defense argument that law enforcement provided false information in the probable cause affidavit to obtain the search warrant for Richard Allen's residence? It is unclear as to the reason the defense chose to have at least half of the content of this Frank's motion address events that occurred nearly a year after the submission of the search warrant and supporting probable cause affidavit.
What does that even mean?
Okay, so that they are writing about this interview and the arguments about the interview and putting it in the Frank's motion about the interview a year
What
after this.
interview?
Yeah, the one that was lost. They didn't know who it was. They didn't know who it belonged to. That one. You know, they didn't even know who it was. But they're saying it's a year later. But the problem is they actually were requesting for a motion to suppress and the motion in limine back in, that was what the June hearing was supposed to be about. And then she said, "We're not going to do it. You're going to have
make me a Frank's motion."
Yeah, you're going to have to do Frank's. Okay, so the maps are printed in any manner you want to output them. I will ask. He has done presentations to ACBLA for free, and I can try and find that out also. Perfect. And DB Cooper says, see, they said a geofencing expert, that then they say no geolocation expert said that. I did notice that. Yeah. Okay, so I think what they're trying to say is, why are you bringing this up a year after and trying to say that this is relevant? Well, I'm thinking that they didn't know all of these things, so they had to continue to find all of this, and then of course that's when they were able to present that they needed it. So I think that's kind of.
But a year after what? That doesn't make any sense. They didn't get. Let's just talk about Libby.
Search warrant and the probable cause affidavit, because this is for them to deny. This is for her to deny the Franks. So why did they only bring it up a year after? Because he was arrested in October, so that's when the search warrant was. That's when the probable cause affidavit was. Why did none of this get brought up sooner? Is what they're saying.
See, now I didn't know if she was saying that or if she's saying that at least half of the content in the Frank's motion, I'm assuming she's referencing the first one, address events that occurred nearly a year after the submission of the search. So 2022 to 2023. So what is she talking about? Like the geolocation stuff, they got that.
They just got that
in October 6th. That's it's nobody's fault but theirs that it came up a year later.
Right.
It is.
I mean, that was literally almost a year. So it obviously fails to meet the burden due to the fact that Turco interview could have no bearing on what the probable cause affidavit contains. They didn't know about a Turco interview. So that's where I'm confused. This doesn't make a lot of sense. However, if the defense is using this to support the assertion made in paragraph number 34 that law enforcement has attempted to conceal evidence or falsify information in other contexts in this case, it utterly fails for the reason that Lieutenant Holman did not conceal evidence or falsify information from Professor Jeffrey Turco. This is bullshit. We all know that Lieutenant Holman did conceal who the professor even was.
Yeah, I'm glad she said that. Let's go to that. See, because Gull is not going to go to the third Franks to read what she's referring to. She said 34.
She said 34. Hold on.
What an idiot.
It doesn't want to pop up for some reason. There it is. This is the
I can't wait till you read that. I sent you too many things, but 34 says, therefore, the defense is left with providing information of times and occasions when law enforcement attempted to conceal evidence or falsify information in other contexts in the case.
Right here.
But she missed the ones that point out very clearly that, which was what I sent you, that.
Yeah, let me pull those back up so we can talk about those really quick too.
Yeah. I imagine it could be one of the things that could be used to file some type of something that lawyers can file that points out maybe blatant lies by one side or the other.
So this is going over when everything happened. So however they got back, since getting back on the case, the defense has learned that Jeffrey Jerry Holman did in fact learn the identity of the Purdue professor, Jeffrey Turco, on August 12th of 2023 through the Purdue Police Department, and Turco's identity was confirmed a few days later by other law enforcement. Holman even had possession of Turco's report, which contradicted Holman's August 10th sworn testimony during that time frame. Now,
so he had his depo.
Yeah, so he knew, he had his deposition, contacts the police department, gets the name of this person, this professor, contacts him, asks him to come in for an interview. McLeland on September 6th emails the defense and says, hey, we don't know if we're going to be able to figure out who this person is. We don't know if we're going to find him or her or anything about them. So we don't know what to tell you. Now, the Franks memo comes out on September 18th. So make sure you guys are paying attention to these dates. So now September 18th, the Franks memo comes out. The next day, Jerry Holman interviews the Purdue professor that, remember, they didn't even know who he was. But in the correspondence between Holman and the Purdue professor, he says, I'm sorry it took me so long to get back to you. Like 2 days or whatever it was. Oh, shoot. That's not what I want. Do you have that in the other one? Is that what this one is?
The other one includes his email. So almost an entire month after Holman found out who Turco was and had in his possession Turco's report from 2017, this is what Nick says. A month after that.
Right. So we don't know who it is, but yet Holman did know who he was. He absolutely did. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to say, I'm sorry it took me 3 weeks to get back to you.
And had the report.
And have the report. The defense alleges that Lieutenant Jerry Holman interviewed Professor Jeffrey Turco, then lied about the contents of that interview in Professor Turco's statements. Lieutenant Holman interviewed Professor Turco in September, September 19th, 2023, at the request of the defense following his deposition. Lieutenant Holman's deposition, they didn't ask for him to interview him. They asked who the hell he was. They wanted to know who he was. Tell us who he is. Lieutenant Holman's deposition included defense inquiry about investigative leads related to Odinism. Lieutenant Holman advised that a Purdue professor had been consulted by other investigators, but that he did not participate directly in the inquiry. The defense pressed Lieutenant Holman to re-interview the professor as to his findings and conclusions. Okay, well, maybe they did. They were like, find him and interview him. Lieutenant Holman did a follow-up interview of Professor Turco at the defense's request. I don't know. We don't have that documentation. Professor Turco's initial report from 2017 clearly states in the introductory summary, it is not self-evident that these markings are runic inscriptions, nor is it immediately clear what they would mean if they were. However, the argument that these markings constitute an inscription inspired by Norse runes or modern recreations thereof is quite plausible. The following are conjectures based on the working assumption that these lines do in fact constitute a runic or runically inspired inscription. Clearly, Professor Turco was asked to assume the line formations are runes.
Yeah, but not by the defense in 2017.
No. So, Professor Turco's initial report from 2017 clearly states this.
Is Frank in here listening, little Frank?
Clearly,
he
Professor
must be, because he's sending me messages.
Oh, is he? Clearly, Professor Turco was asked to assume the line formation are runes. Okay, so back at the beginning of 2017, he's saying, hey, see if these are runes. So Lieutenant Holman did not attempt to deceive the reader or leave out key information from Professor Turco's report. However, Lieutenant Holman did another interview of Professor Turco to clarify his findings at the request of the defense. The defense outlines Lieutenant Holman's summary of the second interview in paragraph 18 of their motion. The defense then outlines what they believe Lieutenant Holman's summary should have stated in his report in paragraph 22 of their motion. I just want to go back up here for a minute because it is not self-evident that these markings are runic inscriptions, nor is it immediately clear what they would mean if they were. However, The argument that these markings constitute an inscription inspired by Norse runes or modern recreations thereof is quite plausible. The following are conjectures based on the working assumption that these lines do in fact constitute a runic or runically inspired inscription. Okay.
So now you'd have to reference back to what the defense said. I believe it was the additional Frank's memo. I know
But
I
hold
have
on.
it.
What he's saying is here, he's talking about the report from 2017, where he's saying that it is possible, that it is plausible that somebody could believe, somebody in their layman's terms, or their new belief, or their modern recreation, could possibly, plausibly believe that these are runes. In 2017, you guys understand what that means? Then is when they are saying that we stopped looking at Odinism because Professor Turco said it wasn't Odinism, or it wasn't runes. It's not true, and now they're telling us that's not true.
And their excuse really for saying it is that, well, Holman years later interviewed him again, and what he said was slightly different. And it's like, but that doesn't it doesn't explain you using what he said in 2017 to stop looking that way.
Right. So why? The whole point was that this person was being hidden. The whole defense's point was this person's being hidden because the person does believe it's possible that these were some type of modern day runes by Norse paganists.
If he's able to make conjectures based on the assumption that they are runic, like if they were in no way runic, how could he come up with any conjecture to be able to follow up in the report and say, well, kind of like that girl did when I sent you all those slides? I forget who it was, when they were like explaining all the different ones that it could be. Do you remember what I'm talking about? She came
The
on
ones that
here.
Adrian did. Yeah.
Yes, Adrian. Yeah. And so
Uh-huh.
if they weren't runes in any way and couldn't possibly ever be looked at as runes, how could he even provide any conjecture of what they would be?
That makes no sense to me, because that just seems like they shouldn't have
He made the
stopped looking,
argument.
because the professor is saying this is very possible that some person who thinks these are runes made them runes, which was the whole thing that I interpreted the defense to say. Maybe I'm wrong, and that was my interpretation, was that whoever did it thinks they're runes.
Was a fanboy. In fact, what they specifically said, and I can pull it up, what they specifically said was that, let me know if I cut out. Dr. Turco stated that after viewing the pattern of the sticks on the girls, that it was a given that someone was trying to replicate a Germanic runic script. Oh, by the way, all of these, like, this is time stamped with the video of his video interview that they provided to the court. Furthermore, he consulted with a colleague from Harvard, blah, blah, blah. Let's get to the part where, furthermore, Dr. Turco stated that according to 19th century sources that Vikings practiced ritual killings and sacrifices. Furthermore, Dr. Turco stated that although he could not necessarily interpret these runes, that the stick configurations were pretty clearly runic, and that he, quote, could certainly imagine that this was somebody's idea, that when you do human sacrifice, you carve runes.
Yeah, that this was somebody thought that, hey, when you do this, this is what you do. He never said this was like a professional Odinist person that did this.
Yeah.
So I'm just confused on how this is helping them, because literally it goes against everything they've said the whole time.
Because it doesn't matter. Because she's literally going to read it and she's going to deny it without a hearing.
All right.
But at least it's on the record.
You're right. But she put it on the, or he put, whoever did this, put it on the record.
You know it was Daner.
I know it was, but I'm just saying. I can't prove it, so. But that's crazy to me, because like that's the whole point, was that you guys hid this person because he said it was possible that these were runes, when in your initial statement you said the professor had said no way, nothing to do with Odinism, no runes, no nothing. And then all of us, and that's why we stopped looking at it, because we had this expert professor. Lieutenant Holman did not attempt. Go ahead.
Didn't he say that in his deposition too?
Which one?
Didn't Holman also say in his deposition, like, didn't he reaffirm that was why, was that the professor said that this had nothing to do with runes, or what was it specifically they said? Now I have to go back and look. Something like, you know what, let me just not try to paraphrase. I'm working on 3 binders right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, wait. That's Richard Allen and Odinism. Is she going to ever, what is she going to wait till 3 days before the trial and then approve the motion for parity? So they have no time to.
Oh, the parity. I know. I don't know about that one. I don't know. This is quite interesting to me, though. I think it contradicts what was said. Lieutenant Holman did not attempt to deceive the reader or leave out key information from Professor Turco's report. However, Lieutenant Holman did another interview of Professor Turco to clarify his findings at the request of the defense. The defense outlines Lieutenant Holman's summary of that second interview in paragraph 18 of their motion. Okay, I already read that. The parties held a deposition of Professor Turco on March 21st, 2024. At the deposition, Professor Turco stated under oath that paragraph 18 of the defense's motion more accurately reflects his opinions by comparison to that which was stated in paragraph 22. Paragraph 18 is from Lieutenant Holman's report, while paragraph 22 is what the defense believes Professor Turco's report means, and includes the defense's application of Turco's statements to facts about Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall that were not provided to Professor Turco for consideration. Okay, hold on. Defense includes the defense's application of Turco's statements to facts about Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall that were not provided to Professor Turco for consideration. Professor Turco stated that he was provided with only a diagram of lines in certain patterns on a blank sheet of paper, which he then replicated and color-coded for reference to this narrative report. Professor Turco went on to state that paragraph 22 does not accurately reflect his opinion at all. Okay.
It would have been really super nice if she could have included whatever page that deposition of the transcript to show exactly what Turco said. What would be the harm in having done that?
I don't yeah.
If the defense replies, I hope that they include that.
Me too.
But again, she's talking about information in an interview that happened, and wasn't she the one in that hearing that repeatedly kept saying it wasn't in 2017? Like, why are we now avoiding talking about the shit that happened in 2017?
Because it doesn't have anything to do with that motion. So now she's fighting this motion. Her motions are not fluid. And I think that's, something that I do see with the defense is they are more fluid in what they're trying to get their point across. And these are not. These are just arguing semantics about a particular point. Which, I mean, to each their own. That's how they do it. But, okay. So Cabert says, to me, Teresa, this paragraph creates a window for the defense to bring in the Odin theory. Am I correct? Well, I think that his initial report, now that that's out in the open, is enough. Now, here's the thing. I don't think Turco is going to be testifying for anybody. Unless the defense is going to say, hey, did you guys talk to a professor? And that's what stopped you guys from investigating the Odinism any further. And then the person, the investigator, is going to say, yes, this is what I was told. I was told that there was like Purdy. If Purdy's on the stand and Purdy says, hey, I was told that we already talked to this professor and I was given this Purdue report and said, hey, we're done. We're not looking at that anymore.
Which is not what happened.
Right. I think that's going to be that would be what's going to be the testimony. I don't foresee a Turco testifying Because another thing about this is, and I don't know if it's in this document or not, but they say that, Holman is asking him if he's an odinologist or whatever. Like, are you like actually like an expert on odinism? And he's not. He's not an expert on odinism.
Well, Nick did retain, he put it on his witness list, an expert in odinism.
Correct, but Turco is not, is what I'm
Right.
saying. So if anybody's going to be tested, the only point of Turco is the fact that they're saying that Turco is the reason that they stopped looking at the Odin angle.
Correct.
And now the defense only needs to bring in, like, hey, is that true? And then here, this is what Turco said in 2017. And then the prosecutor can come back and be like, but this is what he said in 2023. But the bigger point that I think is being missed is the fact that he was hidden away. Nobody wanted anybody to know who Turco was. They wanted the narrative of, hey, we stopped.
In my opinion, Holman went and got a whole new interview. And that's why one of the things that the defense is waiting for and was trying to get her to compel them to turn over is all communication between Turco and anyone in law enforcement from 2017 to present day. And I think that Holman went out specifically to re-interview this person to get something else besides what was said in 2017. Because in their depositions in August, so they said specifically Tony Liggett swore under oath at his August 8th, 2022. And keep in mind, all of these had attached to them the deposition transcript pages. Swore under oath in his August 8th, 2023 deposition that a Purdue professor did not believe that the sticks found on Abby's and Libby's bodies consisted of runes. Furthermore, Sergeant Jerry Holman swore under oath at his August 10th, 2023 deposition that a Purdue professor said that the sticks found on the girls did not represent Odinism or any type of cult worshiping or any type of a group that would have conducted this crime. But, and if anything, what Liggett said, that the Purdue professor did not believe that the sticks found on Abby and Livy's body consisted of runes. I think that specific thing that she just quoted in her motion, her reply, proves that was a lie.
That can't be the reason they stopped looking at it. Yeah. So, Travis, you have the expert on Nordic paganism, heathenism. Can we get them on?
Did you look up these experts that Nick has?
Them on too. Can we just do a couple different shows and we have these different people on?
You should.
I know, right? I really want the geofencing. I've been talking to you about that for a little while now. So Todd says, in the very first sentence, he clearly said it's not obvious they're runes. And that's what the prosecution is stating. No one has lied. Each side is interpreting to support their own arguments. Well, I won't disagree with you on that, Todd. I think that each side is going with what supports their own arguments, but Nick McLeland put this in his response, and it states that it is plausible, which, I mean, that's problematic to me if that is what they're saying. If Professor Turco is the reason they stopped pursuing or following leads about Odinism because he said it was not possible, there's no way it had anything to do with that, and then we find out quoted that Professor Turco actually said it is plausible back in 2017. To me, what that shows is they should have continued with what they were with looking into that and not use it as a nope, we've already talked to a guy about it. And they're also the investigators back then, because like Purdy was saying like, hey, Becky Patty told me about Odinism and told me to look at this and that and the other. I took it to this other guy and he tells me, nope, we've already looked into it. Here's the Purdue report, and it's not, not happening. We've already done it. We've already done our due diligence there. This tells me they didn't. They should have continued to go further, which is my whole point of what I think the defense is using is, how can you say these people aren't involved when you didn't do your due diligence to confirm they're not involved? We talked to the human resources person at Brad Holder's place. She said he clocked in. Okay, well, where's Where's the video? Where's the time card? Did you follow up with this? Did we make sure that he actually alibied? Did we do any of those things? That's the issue we're having here. It's not about. Go ahead.
And you have to remember that there was also, and specifically written in the probable cause affidavits, were mentioned that they were very active in their Odinism group. But when they wrote out those warrants for Pat Westfall and Brad Holder's cell phones, they mentioned that they were part of the religious group and with the runes. Like they made that connection and then did not serve the warrants. So what they did was they interviewed these guys. They talked to this professor. He said that right there. Let's say he said exactly what she's saying that he said in 2017. Is that really a good enough answer? If he was able to provide them conjecture on what the runes might be, I don't feel like that was a definitive answer for me to then say, okay, well, we don't need to serve these warrants anymore to get their cell phone data. And now we can just put them down as cleared.
Why not just go through and be thorough and just get rid of these guys as potential persons of interest or suspects? And I go back to, if there was no Richard Allen and all of this stuff was coming out that they didn't follow up on these people for all those years, would people not be pissed off when there was years and years of not being able to figure out who did it? That's right. That's my struggle.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, if he would have said, I just feel like he would have had to been very definitive and said, I ran these lines that you gave me through my databases or whatever, and I found no matches. Then I could see them walking away and being like, but I can't see them getting the answer that they got in 2017 and then being like, okay, well, regardless of the fact that we have all this other information on these people, we're just going to move on.
Right. All right. So I'm going to go back to this is the paragraph 18 that they're talking about. So I just want to read it. So this is what they're saying. Holman wrote in 2023. It says, Holman says, I asked him, Turco, to summarize his findings, and he said they were inconclusive. In his opinion, he thought the sticks were placed deliberately, but was unsure what they meant. He said that he provides some educational guesses in his report. I asked him if the Odin religion practiced ritualistic human sacrifices, and he said no. He said that no evidence or research indicates that religion practicing human sacrifices. He told me that if someone Google searched it, they may see that the Vikings were accused of human sacrifices, but he said that there's no proof of it. I asked him if he ever heard of a ritualistic human sacrifice around here, and he said no. He told me not even in Norway, where this type of religion is more prevalent, has he heard of any ritualistic human sacrifices. I don't think that any of this is a lie. I think this is a summary of what he wrote of his interpretation of that conversation, which goes back to what the defense is saying is, hey, if you listen to it, this is what's actually said, versus if you just take what they say, then you get this. And that is the same.
Well, they're pointing out that he did everything he possibly could to avoid writing the word rune.
Right. Well, it's inconclusive. It was done deliberately, but he wasn't sure what they meant. Okay, so I could agree with that. I could agree that they're definitely done deliberately. It was not done on accident. But no idea what they mean. Once again, inconclusive to me still means that they should be following up on it. So that's my number one point there. Number two, if I change this out and if I asked him if the Mormon religion practiced ritualistic human sacrifices, he would say no. He stated that no evidence or research indicates that the Mormon religion practices human sacrifices. Or does the Mormon religion believe that their children can turn into zombies at different levels?
Well, and also,
there's no history of that.
They're going off of like Norse. He's going off of the peaceful, I don't want to say normal, but like the more practiced version of the religion. He wasn't going off of, here's these white supremacist people saying they're practicing Odinism. here's
Right.
some, you know what I mean? Like, I think that
Yeah.
context would have.
I don't think any of us are out here thinking like Odins do this. Like if you practice Odinism, this is what you do.
Oh no. And this got brought up earlier on Twitter because someone mentioned that, like, ritual sacrifice, if this was a ritual sacrifice, this could only be one if there were additional children who were ritualistically sacrificed.
Right.
But that's not true, because the ritual is the sacrifice. It doesn't matter if you're sacrificing an animal, it doesn't matter what kind of animal, but if every Sunday you're sacrificing something in a ritual,
Right.
then if you choose the following week to move beyond animals, like we're hearing, then it would absolutely still be a ritual.
Right. Well, and it's based on whatever they've created, and I think that was the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's whatever this group of people created and decided they should be doing.
Yeah.
But and I'm not even saying that that's what happened, but the whole thing is they didn't follow through. If he's saying inconclusive, or if he's saying it's plausible, it's possible, then you keep going with it.
Yeah.
So, and then they go down to number 22 of what it should have said, but that's not what it
Yeah,
says.
read that. It's funny.
But what I want to read right here is what so Holman failed to write in his report were Turco's words that were more strongly detailed how Odinism was likely involved in the murders due to the likelihood that the sticks were formed into a runic script. Quote unquote, it's a given. And how it was very plausible that human sacrifice could be a component to said murders.
Well, AKA, someone could have looked up sacrifices and knows that if you sacrifice, you carve runes.
Right.
It's the same thing.
So I don't know. That's my struggle is still why they're saying that they stopped looking at this because of Professor Turco, when looking at what both sides are saying. Professor Turco did not have a conclusive conclusion. So hold on. So Turco, like every other actual FBI CSI expert I've heard, had said sacrifices aren't a thing, and there's no evidence of a cult ritual or any before this crime or after it, or even in recent history.
How can you say that sacrifices aren't a thing?
They are. So that's a whole nother topic that
They're
I don't
literally,
have time
there's
to get
photos
into.
of them saying we just did a bloat.
But once again, you're saying that they're not a thing, but I'm telling you examples of of offshoots of stuff. I do not believe that this is just something that like the Odinism religion just preaches when they're all together. They're like, let's go find some people to sacrifice. I don't think that. I don't. What I'm curious of is why was it okay to stop looking into this based on Professor Turco? Hold on. You all ain't in for an objective look. Okay, here's my objective look, Mischief. Why did they stop investigating it based on what Professor Turco said, if Professor Turco said it was inconclusive or plausible? That is as objective as I can get. Why did they stop looking? And then why did they say they didn't even know who he was? They didn't know who he was.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Julie. I hesitate to say, but I will. Many investigators at the crime scene are FM. If you don't understand that commitment till death, do them part, study hard, protect and cover all costs. Freemasons. Don't forget the Kentucky investigation. That's another one. That's why I'm like, I don't know if I have the time to get into all of it, but
there's no time for all of this.
I know, because that's where we could go down so many different rabbit holes. I'm doing my best to be objective here. I really am, but just answer me that. Why did they stop then? Why did Holman say he didn't know who it was when he had emailed him 3 weeks prior? Why is McLeland saying, "I'm sorry, we're never going to find the guy"?
Or
That's
girl.
I mean, I feel like the people who come in and say those kinds of things, I'm like, are you being objective? Because these things aren't inaccurate. They're there. We cannot ignore that they happen. So if I'm not being objective because I'm not just like, Nick McLeland is the best thing since sliced bread. Like, that's not objective. Like, you can't ignore all the shit. Adrian, thank you for the super chat again, honey. You don't have to keep super chatting, but I do appreciate it. In pagan Sweden, in Uppsala, every 9 years, a human was sacrificed along with other animals. This was around the Disting celebration around mid-February. Oh, fucking A. Seriously?
I found that website that had like the holidays, and there was something on the 13th. I want to say the 13th and the 14th.
Yeah, I think there is something the 13th and the 14th. Here, let me go through. Yes, Click believes it is viable and probably the truth as he sees it. Yep. We have Indiana law enforcement officers not agreeing with Carroll County. Yes.
Yeah, and also, like, how can you
Interesting.
know? How can you be comfortable knowing? Like, this wouldn't even be an argument if stuff would have just been followed through on.
Right. That's it. That's my bottom line. That's the whole thing.
And they had 6 years to do it. So I just don't understand, like, the warrants that were never served. Why weren't they served? Why was there not like a warrant to, I don't know.
Why
I
not
felt
just
like
finish the
I really felt
investigation?
like the spit comment warranted a warrant, don't you? Like, I would have immediately
The comment warrants a warrant.
I would have sat out front of that trailer and I would have waited on the phone until the judge told me to go ahead.
So Turco said it was plausible because he was asked to assume the lines were runic. Well, that's what they're stating. So this is, and we're going to go back to just trust. Who do you trust? You know, and I'm telling you, on both sides, everybody's putting in what they need to. But paying attention to things in quotes is actually the most important. But clearly,
Yeah, but
Professor Turco was asked to assume the line formations are runes. Well, Lieutenant Holman followed up with him. So did Lieutenant Holman ask him if he was told to assume that? Because it doesn't seem, he's saying it's not self-evident, it's intentional, and it's plausible.
whoever said that to him in 2017 obviously had other evidence that made them believe that those might be runes. That's why they would ask him to look at it in the context of it being runes.
Right. Well, they didn't
Right.
even give him the pictures. They actually just wrote it. They just drew it out for him, apparently. Like, probably what they gave, more along the lines of what they gave to Barbara McDonald that she put on
That's
there. So
exactly
mischief
what it
because he
is.
said it was plausible in the context of it being proposed as an odinous ritual runic-like expression. Exactly. So how would the investigators say they stopped investigating them based on what the professor said? That it was not possible, not plausible, no way, had nothing to do with it. That's my question.
It seems like everybody but them, but Unified Command, or whoever. I don't even want to blame all of Unified Command. Whoever specifically that was brought to was the only one that thought it wasn't. Because somebody said something to Turco to have him look at it that way, in that context. And then they wrote warrants. And then they were never served.
Mm-hmm.
But again, when you read that thing that I sent you, I hope you read it tonight. Your head's going to blow off your shoulders, because this is literally the hardest. So, like, all this stuff, and how people are saying, oh, they're just trying to create reasonable doubt. I'm here to tell you that even if Gall lets all of this in, let's say she lets every bit of everything the defense wants to bring in, let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
Giving an alternate suspect, showing that the police lied, showing that they fucked up and deleted videos, showing that they're incompetent, whatever. All of that is not enough. Like, there's studies on this. They have
not enough.
They have to be able to produce valid third-party evidence.
Yeah.
So we're talking putting people places, admissions. like actual evidence, because otherwise you just leave the jury thinking, well, they're telling us that he didn't do it, but they didn't tell us
Right.
who did. So
now it doesn't matter.
yeah. So if they can't tell us who actually did it, then he did it. Somebody has to pay.
Now, let me see. I didn't say no one, but the symbolism points to disting. It's more relevant. Yeah, the horns, the antlers / horns. I mean, there are sticks there. They're not in that shape to me. He stated those rituals were not actually a thing. I understand that he states those rituals are not actually a thing. I get that. But what I'm trying to put out there is, why would you not continue if you were looking at it? Why would you not continue to go down that path? And then your other comment was something about there's no corroboration. Well, they don't say they stopped looking at it because nothing corroborated it. They said they stopped looking at it because Professor Turco said it had nothing to do with Odinism.
And he didn't say that. And why not then go to an Odinism expert? Nick seemed to find one really quickly.
Right. Yeah. That's my I'm gonna move on, because I just at this point there's no reason. This is her filing, or his filing, Nick McLeland / Stacey Deamer's filing, that they're putting in there that this is what he did say back in 2017. That I'm not making up that he said it. They're putting it in there. Okay, so an expert on Mormonism would say that people don't make zombies out of their children. That's my point. You know how many people were making fun of Charles Vallow when he was calling the cops and saying, my wife thinks I'm possessed by a zombie and she calls me Ned? And they were like, who cares? That's not a real thing. Ho, 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 ho. And now look at where we are 5 years later.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I get that it's not the norm, but most people who are out here killing people or doing weird shit like this aren't normal. I'm just saying, as an investigator, there should have been nothing until they were done. They were done. They alibied. They warranted. It just does not make sense to me. It can make sense to you. It absolutely can. It does not make sense to me. And ultimately, what you think or what I think or what anybody else in this chat thinks isn't going to be relevant, because we're not going to be the 12 people on the jury who get to sit there and hear the evidence. So we're just discussing it. But that's my point. I don't get it. Why stop based on what Professor Turco said if Professor Turco didn't say it? Especially when you have nothing. You have nobody. We have to remember, like, this, what we're seeing now is Richard Allen. They have Richard Allen now. For all those years, they had nobody. They had nobody. You know, all
Tornado
the times
artist.
they're going back through.
Is right. Tornado artist is right. So I think moving forward, Turco is not the reason that it stopped. He's the scapegoat. So that would be a direction to look at, is who all talked to this person that then said, like, it wasn't Holman.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, it wasn't Holman. And in fact, I don't have it in front of me, but in the first Frank's memo, they do say which officer or whatever was the one that actually went to speak to Turco. You know, I want to say, could it be that that person is the one who then brought it back to Unified Command and said, yeah, he said it's, probably not a big deal. I would like to, but I don't think that that's true, because they have his recorded interview. So it's at a minimum, I would say that it's probably another check mark on the side of, this is why we need actual recorded interviews, because the
Right.
Narratives that are being written, the supplemental narratives that are being written after the interviews, are just not accurate. Yeah, Becky Patty said that wanted them to look at Abby's boyfriend's dad months after they were supposedly cleared. But yet then,
Right.
Richard Allen's arrested and Doug Carter's telling everybody nobody's been cleared. Hell of a lot of people been cleared as far as I can read.
It's a huge cover up on the state side from the beginning to the end, and I think we all know why. Why do you, I don't know if this is directed to me or somebody else. Why do you immediately believe defense filings and not believe anything prosecution puts out? If that's directed to me, I'm going to go with that. You haven't watched the channel.
Yeah.
Until now. Because that's not true.
Trolling you at this point.
Well, that's why I'm like, I don't know if that could have been in response to something. I had to walk away real quick. So it could be in response to somebody else.
Sure.
She and I talked to her. Okay, let's go back over here. So the defense then outlines. Okay, right here. The defense then out. Okay, 22. We already did that. The parties held a deposition of Professor Turco. Okay, we did this one too.
Yeah.
He said that 22 is not what he believes. I understand that. If we went to 22, 22 is not what he believes. It's literally has to do with shit that Professor Turco wouldn't know. But I am curious about some of these other things that are in 19, 20, 21 in between here, where he's quoted as saying it's a given. Like, is that true? Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to know. Obviously, 22 is not true.
It was satire. Like, this is what he should have wrote.
Right. Yeah, but he would have known any of that. So I know that that's not. I mean, I don't think that I never even thought like, oh yeah, he should have totally wrote that. But I'm curious all the other parts. Anyway, they're time stamping the statement 15 minutes to 15:50.
Exactly.
But 22, not the right one. Okay. So defense believes Professor Turco's report means and includes the defense application of Turco's statements to facts about Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall. They were not provided for Professor Turco consideration. We know that. Professor Turco stated that he was provided with only a diagram of lines. We read that. All right. Professor Turco wanted to say that 22 does not accurately reflect his opinion at all. Okay. Professor Turco stated in his deposition that it is not clear that the sticks found on the girls represent Germanic rune script. The professor went on to debunk all the statements that the defense put in their motion, including that this was a ritualistic sacrifice killing. Which motion? In the Franks? Because those are the
in their
statements
third, in all of them, really. And again, with these kinds of statements, I just don't see how it wouldn't be pertinent to include the transcript of the deposition where he's literally debunking them and stuff like that.
Right. Is he saying that he never said it's entirely plausible to me? Is he saying
he's videotaped?
Right, and that's why I'm wondering. So he's saying none of this is true, but so what motion? Because this wouldn't make any sense if he's talking about this motion when it's quoted from his own taped interview. Rituals, and that there is a sacrificial connection in mythological poetry. Okay, now does that have anything to do with the crime? I don't know, but how is he debunked if he actually said it?
You can't say that's not real. Now, historically, maybe it's not, but I know for a fact that Brad Holder believes that there's magic to be done with runes because I downloaded all the books he posted to that webpage,
to
that Facebook page. And one of them literally is about runic magic or whatever it's called. It even shows how to hold your body in the shape of runes. One of them, like, exactly mimics how Libby was.
And he paints that one picture.
Mm-hmm.
He paints that picture that's the same as I know. I'm like, okay, how many coincidences until it's not a coincidence? Once again, why not just follow up? Why not just continue to go? Whatever. It is what it is. He stated that nowhere in the recorded history of Odinism has a sacrificial killing of children occurred, and if by some slight chance that it is that, it would be the only one in recorded history and goes against the definition of ritual, since a ritual is something that is done over and over again. Okay.
Yeah, like every Sunday when they would sacrifice animals.
Right.
That is a ritual. That's
the ritual. The defense outright lied in their motion and misrepresented the true findings of Professor Turco. This is just the tit for tat. Like, you called Liggett a liar, we're going to call you a liar. Lieutenant Holman reported the truth, and his statement that Turco's findings were inconclusive was correct. Okay.
They said it was inconclusive.
Inconclusive. We're going back to this. Plausible. It's inconclusive. I don't know how they outright lied. Unless you're going with number 22, which is what they should have said, which we know it's not a lie. That's just what they're saying they should have said. But, it's, to each their own. That's how they want to interpret it. The defense statements that Lieutenant Holman somehow was misleading in his report is entirely false. Finally, it is important to note that the interview of Professor Turco and Lieutenant Holman's narrative summary did not occur until nearly a year after the search warrant was executed. Again, the defense does not even claim that the Turco findings are an omission from the search warrant affidavit, but rather than it presumably is new evidence to support their claim that law enforcement as a whole is motivated to lie or misstate the truth as part of the conspiracy to protect Brad Holder or to withhold evidence exculpatory to Richard Allen.
There's that big argument that it has to be all these people. We're just saying that Liggett lied, Holman's lying, and Nick is lying. Where's law
You got a
enforcement
handful
as a
of liars.
whole?
You got a handful of liars that are in charge of the investigation.
Yeah. Not all of law enforcement, for
And
God's
it
sake.
doesn't. The threshold to be met for a Franks hearing would require the defense to show a substantial preliminary showing that a false statement was knowingly and intentionally given or given with the reckless disregard for the truth, such as that probable cause is lacking for the Richard Allen search warrant. If the omissions are included or the inaccuracies are taken out, the Holman narrative of his Turco report are not relevant to the Richard Allen search warrant affidavit. I agree. I do not foresee the search warrant affidavit being thrown out based on any of these things. Because even if you had, the whole thing's going to come down to, if this was in there, would Diener have still signed it? And my thought is, yes, he would have.
What information did Liggett have? When was it provided to Unified Command? When he went to go write that search warrant affidavit?
Travis said that shit doesn't fly in Texas. Calling another attorney a liar.
I mean, on some real shit though, Travis. But I'm not like opposed to it. I feel like if you are flat out lying, you should be called out. But you should not be calling another attorney just a flat out liar and providing no receipts to what you're saying. So I would have been pleased if she had footnotes that said, please see Turco's deposition on, such a date in 2024, timestamp this to this. It's harder to lie when you're providing the person who, so you're paraphrasing his words. Why not just provide his words? Especially if you're going to call someone a liar.
Yeah. They blatantly lied. But then doesn't actually say what they lied about. Just says that paragraph 22 is not what he should have said. I don't know if that's a lie, because I don't know if anybody took it as they actually thought. I mean, I guess maybe. I guess if they think that that's what they really thought that he should have said. I don't know. This is like the game of back and forth here.
Well, and it keeps progressing, right? So like the first Franks memo, like you said, the whole purpose of it was to say they stopped all of the next 135 pages of investigation because they're claiming Turco said that it had nothing to do with this. And that's why they stopped. But then you get to the second and the third Franks memo. Now we're adding things and behaviors and stuff that they're hiding after that point. So when we're talking about hiding Turco's identity, that happened in 2023. It didn't stop the investigation. It obviously happened after his arrest.
Right.
But it's a pattern, is what they're saying.
The parallels between Ari's case and Karen Reed's case should tell people corruption and incompetence happen all the time. Right. And then CJ said, it doesn't take everybody. Not everybody has to be involved in the lie. And this is why I keep bringing up Purdy, because Purdy wanted to go and investigate more. And he was told by, people above him, no, you don't need to. We've already cleared him. So he doesn't continue to do it. So, is Purdy involved in the lie? No, Purdy was doing what he was told.
Right. Something as simple as Click saying, well, I got this call from Alicia and she said that she has this phone. And so I called Holman and I explained why this phone is very important. And he told me that he would go get it and just never did.
Okay, so Chelsea said Stacy Diener may also be motivated to protect her stepson. Have we confirmed that that is her stepson? I was looking to see if it is, and that's where I ended. Was that it was her
Oh, I
stepson, but
forgot.
I don't remember. You and I were talking about it. I don't
Yeah, I forgot
know.
to ask her. Let me do it right now while I'm thinking about it.
I don't know if that's the case, but somebody else said it was his sister-in-law. But in the family tree, it looks to me like it's his that Stacy is his stepmom. But I don't know for sure, and it's not relevant. But it's just a little side note. Somebody had asked me about it, and I was trying to figure it out, but I never got that far. Okay, let me see. Again, the Turco findings. Again, the defense does not even claim that the Turco findings are an omission from the search warrant affidavit, but rather, did I already read this? Oh yeah, I did. Are not relevant to the Richard Allen search warrant affidavit. The defense has routinely put theories and statements in their motions that are not supported by facts or any real evidence. This is yet another example of that.
Dude,
You actually gave them exactly what the real evidence was. You told them
and
exactly
literally they used what you gave them, and they linked a 3-page exhibit list of all of your shit. So is all that not really facts?
right. I don't. This is yet another example of that. The fact that the defense has a theory of how the crime was committed does not warrant the state to put that into a search warrant. Okay, so conclusion. Wherefore now comes the state of Indiana by prosecuting attorney Nicholas C. McLeland and files their response to the defendant's third motion for a Franks hearing and would ask the court to find the defense has not met its burden to warrant a Franks hearing. The motion contains nothing more than their beliefs about the geofencing data, means without the necessary specialized knowledge to interpret the data, and summarily, you just proving that they need an expert, thank you, and summarily conclude that it must be exculpatory and therefore a material, intentional, or reckless omission in the probable cause affidavit for the search warrant. Sheriff Tony Liggett did not intentionally or recklessly omit evidence or lie about evidence in the probable cause affidavit to support the search warrant in an effort to mislead the judge. The facts in the affidavit are true and accurate and are supported by evidence collected in the case. Sheriff Tony Liggett relied on that evidence when drafting the affidavit for the search warrant as the best reliable information known to him and related to Richard Allen at the time of the request. There are no inaccuracies or omissions in the probable cause for the search warrant that are of material nature, and the defense argument that law enforcement dishonestly is pervasive and relates back to the affidavit in question is not supported by sworn statements, affidavits, or other reliable statements. I will say at the end of all of this, I absolutely do not think that they will be granted a Franks hearing, and I do not believe that the search warrant will be thrown out.
Why would they not want, if they wanted to waste their time on a contempt hearing, why would they not want to go to a Franks hearing, especially if they're saying that it's because they're lying? Why would they not want to go to a hearing and prove that? Like, why are they avoiding a hearing at all costs?
They don't want. Well, I think that's pretty much just been the general consensus. Is
Like
no hearings.
you can't tell
No
me that it's
hearings.
because it will take time. Because like the biggest waste of time was the contempt hearing.
Travis says she has to grant a hearing if there's enough of a showing. Denial of a hearing is an automatic reversal. Well, she's denied it twice.
Yeah.
She's denied it twice, and I don't think she's gonna go. All right, let's have a hearing this time. I just don't.
I was just saying today that I think at this point, I think that people, including her, are aware that like this is getting over, like it's gone so far that this is going to get overturned. So now it's just like, let's just push through and get to it. Like, let's just get to it.
Right.
So now it really doesn't matter what she does. You know what I mean?
I kept trying to find today where the prosecution accused the defense of lying about RA prison conditions. Does anyone know where I can find that information? I think it was after 623.
Of course.
Of course, Luthi can help you with
Can
that.
I can I do links? I probably can't. I can't do it from this chat, can I? Because it
Yeah, you
probably
can.
doesn't recognize. Oh,
It does. Yeah, this is where I drop them from.
let me see.
Sure has. Man, I don't understand why YouTube doesn't tell me when T goes live. Aw, and you missed it. We're on almost 3 hours, and we're going to be finishing up soon. I'm back, Unsolved Crimes. The jurors will get a packet with all this shit in it to refer to, if I remember right. Well, it just depends on if they are, if how much of this actually is brought in. everyone is looking to who is covering for Westfall and Holder. What if it's just pride? What if prideful people do not want to admit they fucked up? That happens. That is my overall theory of all the shit that we have seen. I don't know if it's an actual cover up for them. I think it was bad policing, and now the cover up is to cover up the incompetence. This is why I'm not in the huge conspiracy camp of they did all of this at the time to cover for who was involved in the crime. I am of the belief that they fucked up the investigation, and now they're doing everything they can to cover how much they fucked up in order to get a conviction, which is also why I'm not sold that Richard Allen isn't the right guy.
I think
But
that they are covering, and I always have been covering, to cover other crimes. I don't think they're trying to cover for the person that did this, but I think that would let's say prosecuting that person would somehow lead to consequences for other crimes. Whether it be something like, so I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm not saying that it's true, but just as an example, let's say the Odinist people or the Vinlanders, let's say they were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. And I could speak on this from living in a very, 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 very small town, smaller than Delphi. Let's say that they were allowed to do certain things for various incentives. And when this all would get hashed out, those people that allowed these things would be in big trouble for allowing them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So drugs, for example, let's say Vinlanders are selling drugs and they're paying the police not to arrest them.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing, because about like the crime scene itself is like thinking, the blood on Libby's hands, that gets me. It's like, her blood is on
It
your
does
hands
me
kind of
too,
thing. It's
Teresa.
always bothered me since I heard it, and that she was the one that was left the way she was, like it was a message. I can't get over that, and I know that's my own thing. There's not evidence that supports that. It's just my own interpretation of how I felt about that when I heard it the first time, and I've never been able to let it go.
What gets me is the F on the tree that is hers, like that the DNA came back and that F is hers as well as what was at the bottom of the tree, and then her
Correct.
hands were covered in blood. And when I read all of that, I was like, oh my God, like I did, like maybe that was Libby. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
wouldn't there have been other DNA? If somebody used their hand, let's say, which they don't know, that they said it could have been a tool, but let's say it was a hand. When they use their hand to do that on the tree, one would think that their skin cells would then be also on the tree.
Right. Unless they're wearing gloves. I don't know. I mean, but then, like we said, there's fingerprints and DNA. Who the hell does the fingerprints and DNA belong to?
I know. I just want to know, like, the motion to compel, like, there's really, really, really important stuff in here. Like, I was flabbergasted to go through and see what all they have not been given. And the state responded, but didn't address like 90%, like any interviews of Derek German. Like, they didn't even address it in their response.
Right.
Or the phone dumps of Kelsey's phone. They acted like they never even were asked for it. So, like, where is all
Didn't
that
they act
stuff?
like in the response and they say like they already have it, like they gave it to him already?
No, I went and I looked at both of them, and the state's response only talks about the DVR garbage. Page 2 is about the DVR garbage, going on to explain how Mullen, needed a report, blah, 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 blah. Mullen. And then 7, 8, and 9 are statements rather than requests. 10, phone dump data does exist. It has been provided, but that was in request 10. And there is could tell you how many.
Maybe Libby was making an R. I don't. The only other thing, if it was not an intentional letter that was put on there, the only thing I've even seen that would possibly make sense is the hand. Possibly.
Oh, I don't see that.
I'm not saying possibly.
You would better be able to convince me, like I said the other night, if there was something blocking that area and it, like, blood went around it, whatever it was.
Yeah,
But
everybody.
there's 69 paragraphs, and like A is the all reports that detail how certain videos that should have been found on a hard drive. So they address all of that. But
they do say that they have the phone, that they did do a phone dump, correct?
did I say cell data
I think so.
for the response? Yeah. So they said, so that address phone dump data does exist and it has been provided. All geofence data in the state's possession has been provided. The agency responsible for the interpretation of the geofence data is the FBI CAS team, specifically Special Agent Kevin Horan and Agent Sabrick, and then everything else. So that doesn't address Derek German's law enforcement interviews, including video, audio, notes, reports, memorializing. It doesn't
So there's some that was there. We'll have to go through and I have to go mark and see which ones were there and which ones weren't. I never did that after.
It doesn't even include the stuff from the 2 pictures that Libby supposedly took at 2:07 and 2:05.
Well, so that was the big thing too, is that they don't seem to care about these pictures. The prosecution does not seem to care about these pictures. And then in the defense filing, though, it says that they used the Abby photo at the press conference. I went back to those press conferences and I could not find the picture of Abby. The only one I could find was the picture of the bridge.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really important. Like, if you look through here, so he addresses it one time and says that, like, request 10 is cell dump data. But if you keep going in what they're saying we don't have and we need you to give us, what cell dump data? Like, is it Kelsey's and Becky's? Is it the ones from the phone that they labeled geofence victim? Is it the one, is it Libby's? Like, who is this victim? They said they believe to possibly be a phone of a victim used near the bridge. Is that the one?
Are you talking about the victim 2 phone?
Yeah. They also
I don't know.
asked,
they don't address that. They don't address
also,
that even in this response to the third Frank's motion, which they don't address it here, and they don't address it in their response to the amended motion. They don't say anything about these photos.
Right.
Like, they're just not important to them.
Or the video of Derek. They also don't, it says all interviews, reports, documents, or memorialization of interviews of anyone whose phone was found through geofence in or around the crime scene at the time law enforcement is claiming the murders took place. Didn't she just say in response, not to this one, but in response to the Franks, that they were interviewed and cleared? Well, as of just like 2 weeks ago, they're still waiting for reports and memorialization of the interviews of the people who they were.
Well, some of them are just gone. They don't even have them, and they don't know who they were.
That's true. Well, she apparently knows. So does she know and they still haven't turned it over? Like, wouldn't that be crazy if she was like, they left out that those people were interviewed and cleared, and the defense is like, we still don't have that.
Right. So let me
Oh my
find
gosh,
the
I hear
sirens.
Do you hear cop cars?
Yeah, I hear sirens.
Oh my God. Listen, like, and then it
Is
sounds
that a
like a
big? Is
diesel
that a
truck.
big deal by you?
Yeah, I never hear, no.
Oh,
I can't even tell you the last time I heard sirens from a police car here.
well, that's
They don't even do it
interesting.
when they pull you over.
I hear them all the time. You know
You
these
don't even
channels
get
that
like the whoop, whoop.
no, these channels
Nope.
that do all these they like Mel's one, he constantly goes live with all these police chases. And I'm like looking at him, I'm like, and they just drove by my neighborhood right there. Almost
Like,
every time I'm like, that one's coming down the freeway right by my house.
oh my God. No, we don't. I like, I've gotten pulled over here, but like never by a town cop, always by a statey, and always on the interstate. But yet, town cops are always sitting like there's only one traffic light, and they sit at it at all times. And it goes from basically green to red. It's barely ever yellow, and they wait for you to go through it, but then they don't pull you over anyway. Half the time, I
It's
don't
so
even
funny
think
that
they're
you're like,
awake in
do
there.
you hear sirens? I'm like, yeah, I hear them like every 5 minutes.
No, when I hear that, like that would have woke me up out of a dead sleep. I would have been panicking because
That's
that's how
crazy.
not often we hear it.
That's the sound of the police. Okay, so paragraph 10 is the state of Indiana has lost other important pieces of evidence. The defense would therefore ask the court to compel the state of Indiana to answer as to whether the phone dump data ever existed, and if so, what came of it. And so they respond with, in response to request 10, phone dump data does exist and it has been provided.
What phone dump data are they talking about?
Let's go back to right
Yeah.
before it. It's still unknown whether that phone dump evidence did exist at some point in time. This
Oh,
is
so Kelsey, Becky, and
Kelsey's,
Cody.
Mike's, Becky's, and Cody's.
Kelsey, Mike, Becky, and Cody.
Right. And this is when I thought it was Derek's, but then we went and reread the original one, and Derek's isn't about the phones. It's just about Derek's interview.
Right. Where's that at?
Right. Don't know.
He doesn't address it.
So they're talking about Mike's, Becky's, Cody's, Kelsey's. And then we don't even know if this phone dump evidence did exist at some point in time, which question is more than fair considering the loss of all the days. And they just want to know if it did exist, where is it? And so his response is, it did exist and you have it.
So then what about same document that you're in right now, a couple pages later. So if you go to the next page, I think it is. Wait, which one are you in?
I have both up. I have the state's response and I have their request. So
is that the amended motion to compel?
Yeah, these are both amended. Because this is the only one I'm considering now.
Which is kind of crazy because if you look at the amended motion to compel, and I tried to ask several things, but this was the one I was panicking about yesterday. It says, basically to incorporate this with the other one. And I was like, I think he was so frustrated. I was like, is he aware that he basically threw away the whole first motion to compel? Because that's where a lot of information is.
Well, but he had a file that was already given to him that he didn't know he had. And so he found that file of all that info. So what's missing from this one is not in that one. So he tells her not to worry about that one. This is the right one.
Oh, you know what? Therefore, the defense would amend paragraph 69. Is that the one where all the listed things are? If it is, then that makes more sense.
Yeah, because they now found that they do have whatever that info was.
Yeah. Okay. So they were asking for various things. Interesting.
So now she's only considering this one. This is all that
it doesn't
she's
really
even
matter
looking at.
because she's not gonna, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, she's going to go with the response and say, hey, okay, so he's saying that you already have this. So you're requesting the phone dump data, and he's saying you have it. So the one with their interviews is not in the second one, is it? I don't think that Derek's in here.
He didn't respond, though, to the fact that they want sanctions for him, like, breaking discovery rules.
Well, I think he's saying he didn't break them. And look, here's all the shit that you have. We've already given you this. You already know this, so there is no need for sanctions because you have this stuff. He's telling you, like, here, you know, all the audio that you were talking about doesn't matter, which now it really doesn't matter because she's already ruled that it's not, you know, in a motion to dismiss, that it's not going to be a big deal, that it was already, you know, it's just human error and it happens. What is going on hold on, I got to check something in chat. Okay. Yeah, Michael, why are you just causing ruckus? Stop it. Just chill.
Who cares? My biggest thing is, and really there was no answer, so I'm assuming that means like at any point. But like, what was the point of making a discovery deadline for November the 1st? Nick saying repeatedly in before that, and then even after, when he tried to get the defense to be compelled to turn over discovery, he said repeatedly that he already turned over everything in the state's possession, but yet continues to turn things over.
Right, as they find them. As they find them, they're giving them to.
But it's shit from the very beginning. So, like, I guess
I agree with you.
Yeah, so I guess
but
my
she's
question
not
would
going to
be,
agree
like,
with you.
when is she gonna actually stop? Like,
Well,
when
this
is
is
the
every
actual
day,
deadline?
though, Sleepy. You know that. Like, they constantly are like, oh, oopsie, we didn't have this evidence. We couldn't find it. We didn't know we had it. Now we're giving it. And we didn't mean to hide it, but, you know, we thought they had it. This is like common bullshit on prosecutors and defense attorneys. They're asking for shit, and then the other side's like, no, we gave it to you. And they're like, no, you didn't. It's just, I think it's the same. This is the same shit. And at the end of the day, ultimately, whatever, as long as it is all turned over, because I'm telling you, if it comes out that there isn't something, then we're gonna have. I mean, if they actually have something that isn't, then, I mean, you're talking about a retrial, like, quick. But this is shenanigans. This is just the shit they do. They try to keep stuff behind. They try to keep a little bit close to them, and then they're like, oh, we just found this. Oh, look at these 4 interviews we just found. Remember, he's like, we turned over.
Well, Kara's motion for parity, you know, that's really important to be ruled on, because the things she asks for is either parity in resources, so we want the same as what he has, or these 3 things. I think it was, I don't even remember now, that like the cell phone data, the confession, and something else. Then he shouldn't
Fair
be able to use
trial,
that at trial.
keeping it equal. And then we have, he has a demonstrated need for resources. The court has put the defense at an unfair disadvantage. Sorry, I read that wrong. That was not their typo. That was me. And Allen is being prosecuted in Carroll County, where the judge is in charge of determining what is necessary expense for his defense. And he's being denied privileges and immunities afforded to other similarly situated Hoosiers accused of the crimes. And this is when we were talking about, like, because they don't have a public defender office, then they have to go to the judge to request the funds, versus, like, if Labrado was actually representing him, well, I guess he still would, because it's still Carroll County. But if he was representing somebody in Allen County, it wouldn't necessarily be the same way. So
I just think what she's asking for her to rule on is pretty, like, it's serious. So, like, it's really a time crunch, right? Like, what are you waiting for? Because what she's asking you to rule on is either give us equal funds now so we can do what we need to do to be prepared for trial, or make Nick pay out of pocket for his stuff like we have to, or don't let that certain evidence get brought into trial, because you're not letting us get an expert that's going to refute that.
Right.
And she's just not doing anything with it.
Well, and then you just sent me, this is the funding for Nick.
2.1 million.
Right.
So it doesn't specify anywhere in this. And, like, Osbrook was like, I don't understand. Maybe it will, but generally it's supposed to say what is going to the defense. So, like, if half of each of these sums goes to the defense, then that's what it should say. Because this is letting the taxpayers of Carroll County know exactly where their money's going.
Right. Well, it should be the same thing. They should know where their money's going on the defense side too. But here's what we do know, that so far the taxpayers have paid $12,000 in defense expert fund compared to whatever has been paid to Nick McLeland or the prosecutor. She gave him Auger, OJ, but I call her Auger because it looks like Auger to me.
I'm going to give you one more thing, and then I'm going to jump down while you read it so you can do whatever and leave. But that is a good article. But that was a year ago where they're talking about this and how much it should cost. And they said that they would keep an eye on the expenses. But ever since that time, no one's been able to get any update on the expenses. But I'm going to jump down and listen.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll read this and then I'm going to wrap it up anyway. Thank you for helping me. I appreciate your help, and I appreciate your knowledge and everything you do to make my life easier.
Of course. I need you to read that thing tonight, like while you're just laying in bed.
I'm going to.
All right.
I'm going to sit down and read it. Gambies, yeah, holy hell, you are late. Yeah. Okay, so Hennessy was saying that the prosecution was given somewhere around $230,000 for experts when Bob and I spoke with him. Holy shit. At that meeting, there would be a packet given to each person on that board with a breakdown on what those numbers would break down to. That would be public record. I will replay this like it's my job. He's freaking hilarious. We need to get these guys the funding. It sounds like they really need the help after all this. Well, they have another one in, so she still has to rule on that, and hoping, they have that motion to reconsider for her to pay them, and hopefully she does. I don't know. It's tough because they filed what they needed, and they filed it ex parte, which means we don't get to see it. It's also the one that Nick McLeland wasn't supposed to get to see, but yet he did read and put in his motion that he ended up also taking back. But we don't know what they asked for, and we don't know what her response was. And all that says is that, like, from the defense side, is that it was unsupported. It was unsupported. And so we don't know, did she give them a reason it wasn't supported, or hey, you need to be able to prove XYZ for me to be able to approve that. I don't know, but we don't get to see that. Yeah, what I had up. Okay, I'll show it again. I think I have it up here. What I had up. This one. This is what we get to see. We don't have like the breakdown of how many of the experts were. So it's interesting if Hennessy's saying they got about 230,000. Yeah, just unsupported. Okay, so let me go back to read this real quick. So this is, stop it. Why are you doing that? Don't do that. Before I leave, I'm not leaving. Just let me back to the article. Is it because I have it blown up? Okay. Now I'll blow it back up. So this is from March 28th of 2023. Carroll County is bracing for what will likely be the most expensive murder trial ever conducted in the rural community. A trial date has not yet been set for Richard Allen, who is charged with 2017 double murders near the Monon High Bridge in Delphi, but local officials are already preparing for a trial that will keep the small Indiana town under a big national spotlight. The world is watching. They don't say that. I added that, FYI. A week before Allen's arrest in October, the Carroll County Council approved an annual budget of about $17.5 million. In December, Carroll County Auditor Beth Myers posted a notice to alert taxpayers that the council was seeking to appropriate an additional $2.1 million for anticipated costs related to the double murder trial. The council approved the appropriations request in January, including $1.53 1.5 million for personal services, and 530 for other services, and 35,000 for supplies. So that's this one right here. What they put out to the public. Myers confirmed for 13 News the money was for Allen's trial, but declined to comment further, citing a gag order in the case imposed by Special Judge Francis Gull. With just over 20,000 residents in Carroll County, $2.1 million in trial expenses would translate to about $100 for every man, woman, and child in the county. So what will the money be spent on? Conducting a big murder trial in a small town does not come cheap, and several factors are pushing the price tag for Carroll County higher. First, the special judge and jury will be brought in from Allen County, which is located about 2 hours away. That means throughout the trial, Carroll County will need to pay for all transportation, hotel rooms, food, and entertainment for the jury and the judge's staff. The trial is expected to last at least a week and perhaps much longer, so the county will likely be paying for a lot of meals and hotel rooms. Second, Richard Allen told the court he cannot afford the cost of his own defense, prompting Gull to approve his request for a public defender. Carroll County is therefore responsible for Allen's legal bills and his 2 court-appointed public defenders. It is possible that it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, said Derek Mason, executive director of Indiana Public Defender Commission. It's obviously expensive to provide public defense, but at the same time, it's a mandated expense, literally mandated by the Constitution. Allen County is a member of the State Public Defender Commission, which requires participating counties to ensure indigent defendants are appointed highly qualified defense attorneys. The commission also establishes minimum compensation requirements for the public defenders hired by its member counties, which means Carroll County must pay Allen's 2 public defenders at least $100 per hour. Could have been more, but that's what she's paying them. Membership in the State Public Defender Commission also brings good news for Carroll County taxpayers. The commission will reimburse Carroll County for up to 40% of what it spends on Allen's defense costs, a significant savings for a small county. If, for example, attorneys, defense experts, and legal research for Allen were to cost $250,000, the Public Defender Commission would reimburse Carroll County for $100,000 of those expenses. This is important because this is kind of what Hennessy touches on of, hey, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, that means that the commission will not reimburse you. They will not work with you anymore. So when it, here they're talking about defense experts and legal research for Allen were to cost $250,000. The Public Defender Commission would, they would reimburse them $100,000 of those expenses. The other interesting thing is that from reading the article, it seems that the $2.1 million should be also being used. This is like sticking. I don't know what's going on. Should also be being used to fund the experts for the defense team. Oh, thank you, Travis. Thank you. So, they view it as an insurance policy against a major case happening in their county that could cost a lot of money they would not otherwise afford. And that's exactly the kind of case that we're talking about. Even with partial reimbursement from the Public Defender Commission, the cost of defense attorneys and out-of-town jury, extra security, and other expenses for the Delphi murder trial will add up quickly for Carroll County. Will it add up to $2.1 million? Probably not. That sounds like a lot more money than they're going to spend. Cummings knows about expensive murder trials. His office prosecutor, Frederick Baer, who killed a young mother and her 4-year-old daughter inside their lapel home in 2004. That trial cost Madison County an extra $300,000. And Madison County is now preparing for the trial of Carl Roy Webb Boards, who accused of shooting and killing Elwood. The prosecutor expects that trial to cost his county $500,000. This is from March of 2023, Heavy Metal. March of 2023. Both of those are death penalty cases, the most expensive type of murder cases to prosecute due to the possibility of mandatory appeals that could last for decades. In the Delphi case against Richard Allen, the Carroll County prosecutor has thus far not announced any plans to seek the death penalty. Has anybody in chat looked up to see how long before trial Nick has in the state of Indiana to go for the death penalty? Normally there is there's a timeline before trial that they would even be allowed to change it to that. Does Indiana have that? And do we know what it is? For that reason, Cummings does not think Carroll County will spend $2.1 on the trial. And even if Carroll County does pursue capital murder charges against Allen, Cummings believes the case will cost far less than what the county has allocated. I mean, it's good that they have set it aside, but I can't imagine they're going to spend that much money. A study conducted in 2015 by the Indiana Legislative Service Agency found the average cost of a capital murder case tried before a jury was $789,581, while death penalty cases resolved by guilty plea cost an average of $433,702. Murder cases in which the prosecution sought lesser sentences, such as life without parole, cost much less. Yeah, anything to do with... Didn't Bob say it has passed? I don't know. I didn't hear him say that. Nick won't see the death. I don't think he's going to anyway, but I'm just wondering what the time limit is on that. He doesn't meet the criteria to go for death penalty. But I know that there's a few people that are like, nope, he still has time. And I'm like, I need to look that up. And I never actually did. And then this just reminded me that I needed to look it up. 13 investigates will track spending for Allen's highly publicized trial. Legal bills for his defense must be submitted to the judge for approval before they are paid. A spokesperson for the judge's office tells 13 the judge has not yet received any invoices for the public defenders. And that's it. Okay. Let me see what you guys are saying. And they redid the theater. I wonder how much a small town in Indiana spends to beautify the town compared to how much they are spending on this trial. It was always a big cost in Kokomo. Just curious. It's interesting. And Ron Logan is alive still. He's living with Tupac. A lot they redid the theater. I read that one. No one has been able to answer that for me. Not Kara, not the nice guy on DD once in a while. No one thought amendments were to seek death penalty. Yeah, but is there a time limit that he has to be able to change it? That was a reason for speedy trial push too, maybe? I think the reason for the speedy trial push was because they don't think that Richard Allen's going to survive in prison. Odinus may have done the crime, but it's the Masonic Brotherhood who's protecting their own. Who is both? It's a great question. Nick won't seek the death penalty because he knows he is innocent. He has a tiny bit of a conscience. Travis, didn't Bob say pass? Turned over the photo of Abby. We don't need 20 guards for RA. Could save money on that. If they don't get reimbursed for now following what is asked of them, it's simple as giving the commission invoices of where the money goes. They're effing it up for other Carroll County residents. Absolutely. What they gave the prosecutor, not paying for him to be in prison. Who's paying? Yeah, I was wondering that. Who's actually footing the bill on him being housed in this prison? Who's paying for that? Does this come out of this Carroll County fund? Who pays for that? If they think others are involved, what I don't understand is after all this time, why they haven't made any other arrests. You know my theory, because I have no proof, but my thought is they put him in prison to get him to break so that he would tell who it was. He would tell who he was working with. He would confess and he would tell them everything they wanted to know. And I think that's why he was put in prison. I think that's kind of very similar to the stories we heard about Ron Logan, and Ron Logan was locked up and they took his dentures from him and had him chewing on food that, that needed to actually be chewed with teeth. We've heard crazy stories like that. We've heard from people who were locked up, in Indiana, in Carroll County, and the crazy shit that they've had to go through being locked up. I don't know. I think there's some backwoods stuff of justice that happens in that jail prison system. I tried to look it up. There's no clear deadline is listed on the criminal rules, but to do it now, it would have to be denied because defense is entitled to mitigation expert and there is no time. That's my thought. Yeah, that's my thoughts too. They expected him to expire in prison before trial ever happened. Then they could let their skeletons keep sleeping in the closet. That's exactly what I think. I have no proof of that. That's just my own thoughts. In Texas, the prison would be billed to the county. In Kentucky, the state pays prison stay. The county pays. So Carroll County. I have 12 bowls made out of tinfoil sitting on my kitchen counter full of soup. Did you mix that in both bowls, or is there like 6 of each? They put him in prison so the Odinist guards could torture him. He'd confess, then die, and then the real culprits could go on with their lives. Yeah, but I've even given them the benefit of the doubt at the beginning of this, if they really thought that, Nick, as much as Nick, does some things that I'm like, Nick, what the hell are you doing? I still question on the investigators feeding him the information and him believing it, like the damn Turco stuff. I just don't know. And some people will say yes, and this all just comes down to, once again, it comes down to who you trust, who you believe, and that's just how it's going to be. But did they tell him? Did they tell McLeland, like, we don't know who it is, and so he goes and puts this order out, like, or puts this email out, like, yeah, we don't know if we're going to find him, and then all of a sudden Holman does know who he is, and he's like, what the fuck, Holman? Like, what the hell? Like, why did you do that? I just always wonder those things. Because, like I said, it doesn't take everybody to lie. It just takes the couple that are on the same page and they tell the same story, and then everybody else has no way to not believe it. And so I wonder if back at the beginning, if Nick maybe was like, okay, they got the guy, let's do this, we're gonna do it. Or was he part of like something? If it wasn't really him, is he part of? I don't know. Yeah. They are. They're legally protected and allowed to lie. Hey now, Tupac ain't with no Ron Logan. You never know. You get your damn dentures after you finish that sandwich. I know. Like, once again, this is the how many coincidences does it take? Because and they're like, oh, well, the Odinist guard, they saw them, and that's how they came up with the Odin stuff. And it's like, no. The Odin stuff was up at the very beginning, hence why they even talked to a professor. That's why there was a Purdue report. Like Odinism didn't come about because of the 2 guards. Odinism was already about, and then the 2 guards come into play, and it's like, what? Indiana, it's post-conviction by jury, and at that time, if that is an option, again, jury votes. If jury can't decide, court rules as if only in court time. Okay. PW had a lie detector test, or at least he said he did. Yeah, he did. He said he did. He said he had a lie detector test in August of 2023, not back in 2017, though. Looks like Google just says, at some point before trial, death penalty would be requested. No shit, Google. Thanks for telling us what we already know. Name one person who has been locked in a maximum security prison. Not 1, but 2. Right. And the irony is we were looking up cases, and all the ones that we could find that people were held in prison prior to trial all seem to be federal crimes. It's Dr. Turco. Dr. Turco. I would like to know if that's true too. The dogs are starting to wrestle now. They're like, okay, you're done. Nobody's been put in a prison before. Yeah, as I said, the only ones I could find were actually federal. IK. I don't believe anything Arl said. He also said he got 4 years in prison and he wasn't even in there for a year. I don't think they interrogated him, judging by the ISP report. He just wanted sympathy. Well, we know they were looking at him as a suspect because he hired an attorney to represent him in that case. But I don't know. That's what the attorney says. At the latest, they'd have to decide on death penalty before. I would think so. That's why I'm like, I don't know. I need to figure that out. But it doesn't seem that there's a very clear answer, which there should be. Hear the dogs. Nobody has. Well, I already read that. NM knows Rick Allen is innocent. They put him in prison to cause the dramatics of making him appear dangerous and guilty. Who did? I don't know what I said that you asked that. Gabe had multiple IDOC employees fired and jailed when he was Saxon Knight. He played guards off with the rank and the white national group to bring drugs in by Gabe were busted in Westville years back. That doesn't surprise me at all. I would be very curious to find out what the investigation into Gabe Ellis and crew actually was, and if they ever actually investigated them. That would require a DP defense team. Well, last I knew, Brad Rosie was death penalty qualified. There is something fishy about the damn photo, and they're making it more fishy now. Everybody's always thought that. Everybody's always thought something weird about that damn photo, and they're just. I don't know why they wouldn't want to talk about it. Why is it not ever mentioned? Here's a tougher question. What does state have to file to be able to get life without parole? Right now, he's looking at 60 years max. Yeah, don't know. That's what I was looking at. But, I mean, that is life for him, essentially. I don't know. According to Transparent Indiana. DP is an insane burden, and the state already has a garbage case. Rosie is death penalty. Yeah, I don't see it happening. I was listening to some other channels, and they were talking about that Nick could still throw the death penalty on the table, and I was like, let me look into that. They can file an LWOP notice day of trial. All right, you guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. I appreciate you guys being here. I went way past the time. My husband had to go get my daughter because I was like, I'm not done yet. And he's like, you said you were. And I'm like, I know, but I can't. So but I am going to wrap it up. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys helping to break down some of the things that I just don't understand. Hopefully we can get somebody that actually knows a lot more about geofencing than I do. Which probably isn't that hard. But I'm hoping that we can get somebody who actually has done it, and we can actually learn more about it. That's my next focus. I'm going to try to get that. Love you, T. Put the kids to bed and go read. I'm going to. Love you, Cindy. Thank you for your help. And Allie, love you. One thing I wondered, when will the prosecution drop a plea agreement? They may say no option, but I have to wonder. I don't think they're going for a plea at all. I think everybody's over here preparing for trial. They're adding on the additional attorneys. They're getting everybody up to speed. I don't think there's any plea deal happening. I think they're going for it. I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing them ramped up to go in May, which is kind of makes me a little nervous. Let me see. I'd say thank you so much. You were inside one. Oh, thank you, Dr. Vonda. I appreciate you. Replay crew, I missed the first 103 minutes. Sweet dude, Shibby. I enjoy it. I've been listening. Oh, thank you. Okay, go enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. And like I say, I know you guys have 1,000 other places that you could be, and yet you choose to spend your time here with me. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Let me pull this stuff off of here, and we'll get you guys the new one.
Do you dare to follow me down? Head into the unknown. Down the rabbit hole. Where it stops, no one knows. We're going down. We're going head into the unknown.